Welcome back, movie fans, to another episode of The Movie Date with Rob and Matt, a podcast for people who like movies but don't want to be smug about it. I'm Rob.
And I'm Matt. We're back.
We're back,
in
baby.
the studio. It's been a long month. This will be one of
For the ages.
yeah,
One for the ages.
One for the ages. There's only one for the ages, but we'll have another episode. Hopefully, these will come out concordantly with this and Shang-Chi.
Look, you're going to get a lot of episodes that feel like they're a month and a half late.
Yeah, and it's just we don't want to immediately be like, all right, we're back. And then
Mostly it's going to be like
first.
Mostly it's going to be like, where's that Dune episode? Rob was really excited about it. It's coming, all right? Matt has to finish it. It's
Yeah.
Matt's fault. It's not Matt's fault.
No, we had a busy end of the year, but we're back. We're just kind of going to hit the ground running with this one. All the more official movie date trademark format. We'll get back to it. We got to shake off our cobwebs, get our gray matter back into focus.
I think you're overselling how out of the loop we are. I feel fine.
I feel out of the loop. I'm apologizing about myself.
Don't apologize. Matt had an Oscar turning run.
Tony.
I'm sorry, it's a stage play. Yeah, he had a Tony Award winning run as Bob Cratchit in A Christmas Carol.
Yeah,
what it's called.
that's where he's from. Yeah,
I always forget what it's called.
I was in theater, and I'm getting back in theater, and theater takes up a lot of time.
Yeah,
but I loved it.
I know you love it. It's like your big passion. I was so happy for you.
I wish I could have got you in to see it.
Oh, I mean, I'll stop and see the next one or whatever.
Yeah, I got another one coming up soon.
Yeah. Did you get to the only part I always remember? I mean, I remember what the story is about. The only thing I remember about A Christmas Carol is talking about like when Ebenezer Scrooge is like, "Don't you want to help the poor? Like the poor should die or whatever." He's like,
that's his
"They
line.
should." Yeah, he's like, "They should just they better get to it and decrease the surplus population."
Yeah, that line always
makes you
I was
laugh.
sitting at my table and I give myself an excuse to like perk up because the gentleman who comes in asking for donations, he raises his voice a little bit. So I'm like, "Oh, what's going on?" Because I'm just like got a little quill and I'm just pretending to do note taking and things like that. And I hear it and I go, "Oh my, that's even
Mr. Scrooge."
awful for him, even though I've known him for this
Even
long.
though I've known him his entire life or whatever.
It was fun.
That's good stuff.
So-
He's a good writer, that Charles Dickens. He's got a bright
Charles
future ahead of him. Do you have a favorite piece of Dickens work?
It's probably this.
Really?
Probably A Christmas Carol.
I
haven't read like Nicholas Nickleby and like.
What about, I love The Great
Tale of Two
Expectations.
Cities. Did he write Tale of Two Cities?
I think so.
He did Great Expectations, and of course he did Oliver Twist.
Yeah. Oliver Twist is pretty good.
I like Victorian era ghost story kind of stuff. I like, and obviously it rings very true as in the canon of Christmas movies, Christmas stories everybody loves, as long as the corporations are like, hey, don't take too many anti-capitalist concepts from this about bosses needing to pay your workers better or anything.
Yeah. He really was, man. That guy, he snuck that political. He didn't sneak it into some of it. Some of it was overtly political.
I found out when they mentioned what the what is it, the mill, the treadmill.
Yeah.
And it's like a treadmill. You mean like what you did? No, they would just take poor people, pensioners, and prisoners, and put them on it and make them like a human mill to like work the water systems, and it sucked.
Yeah.
Victorian England sucked.
Great Expectations is great though. I love the bit about oh god, it's
Bleak House is another one of his as well.
There's the escaped prisoner in Great Expectations. I don't want to spoil Great Expectations for you, but he's like his benefactor in the story. There's like a mysterious benefactor, and it's this prisoner who escaped one time, and he's like, "Well, why did you help me all these years?" Because when I escaped, like I put a knife to your throat and stuff, and I was like scary, and I was like, "Go get me a hammer to break these chains off." And then he brings him a hammer, but he also brought him a pie because he looked hungry. And he goes, "No, the hammer was because you were scared. The pie was because you're good."
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
so that's why he does it. It's great stuff. Anyway,
We're
talking about Spider-Man.
We ain't
talking about old.
Spider-Man.
We ain't talking about Charles
This
Dickens.
like Spider-Man could be
Tom Holland is Oliver Twist.
Yes.
Please, could I have some more?
Could I have an Oscar eventually? I'm like, kid, you're working on it. He's good in this.
I saw him in a movie. I watched a great movie recently that he was in for like a hot second before he blew up, and it was with Charlie Hunnam. Charlie Hunnam like shocked me in this movie because that man has depths that he will not go to. I mean, he'll go to them for a great, but like you're not going to see it in Pacific Rim or whatever.
No.
It's called The Lost City of Z.
I've heard of this movie.
It is awesome.
Okay.
That
came out a while back.
Yeah,
right?
it came out 2017 or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
Charlie Hunnam plays, I forget the explorer's name, but a guy who before World War I, he went to the Amazon to do like canvassing missions and like map building and stuff. And when he was there, he found evidence of like a civilization deep in the Amazon, places where people have never been before. And he brought it back to like the Exploring Society of England, and they thought it was a joke. He's like, no, like I think this civilization could have like predated our own by thousands of years, which is like at 1900 England is like boo.
Yeah, boo. It can't be from places that aren't white.
Yeah.
And it's like, get ready, homeboy.
One of the people who boos him is Vernon Dudley, or what's the name of the youngest Dudley, Dursley or
Dursley.
whatever. It's not Uncle Vernon. Is it Dudley?
Dudley Dursley?
Yeah.
Is it Cousin Dudley?
Yeah. He's
because
in
Uncle Vernon is Uncle Vernon.
Yeah.
That's Richard Griffiths.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I get that. He's one of the people.
Griffiths.
He's one of the people booing him or whatever. And there's a really great and he becomes obsessed with like, I have to find this city. Like and he recruits Robert Pattinson's in the movie as his right hand man.
All right.
Who gives a great like subdued performance. A lot of people say like he's better than Charlie Hunnam in the movie. I don't believe that's true. Because there's and of course eventually World War I breaks out and it causes him to go back and he spends like probably like 9 years of his life in there away from his family and stuff, and like it's a really I don't know, it's like a really turmoil filled, like you care more about finding the city than you do your family and stuff. And Tom Holland plays his young son at some point when he grows up.
Oh no.
And they have a lot of like back and forth and like you're never around or whatever. But when he fights in World War I, it's by a good director too. I can't remember his name.
Oh, I know. Lost City of Z is a book by David Gran. That's where I've seen that cover is a book. It's James Gray directed it.
Yeah.
Oh, he did Ad Astra.
Yes, he did.
He did Ad Astra. That's a good movie.
And
that was a very underappreciated little movie.
Yeah, I need to see it. I heard it was great. But at the end in World War I, he gets temporarily blinded by a gas attack, and he can't see he's got a big old cloth over his face or whatever, and his family come and visit him in the hospital, and with like tearful longing, he breaks down and says, "I have to find it," to his wife. And I was like, Charlie Hunnam there was once upon a time where that guy wasn't like a heartthrobby sex symbol,
right?
After like Sons of Anarchy and stuff, which is a great show as well, by the way. But like when he was in movies like Cold Mountain and stuff, when he only took those little roles, it was great seeing him shine through in that. It's a really fucking great movie.
Okay.
The ending. So what happened to that explorer?
2016.
Yeah. What happened to that explorer is he disappeared with his son looking for it. They never found him. So they take a little bit of liberties at the end of the movie, sort of making an argument of what they think happened to him or whatever. But
so he was down in Brazil. Yeah, like
yes.
at the Amazon.
Yeah, in parts of Brazil that were unexplored at that time. Yeah, it's a good movie. Okay. Anyway.
I also saw that.
That's my recommendation. Go watch Lost City of Z. I'm doing it right now, out of character.
There's also I saw Ian McDiarmid's in it. Palpatine's in it.
Yeah, and Angus McFadden is in it as well, who plays a real slimy piece of shit, who like he fancies himself a great explorer, but he goes with them on their second mission and like eats all their food. And
what a
they go to a cannibal. There are like cannibals in Brazil still technically, and whatever. And they go to one of these places and they offer a gift to them, and they bring them to their village and they show them like some of their farming stuff. And he's like, we shouldn't be with these savages or whatever. It's immoral or whatever. I don't even know what his argument is.
Well, it's probably white imperialist
or something like that. And then like he has a weird thing where like their raft is about to go under, so he tells them like, hey, you need to get out of this raft and float down the river. It's only like 3 feet deep. You won't drown. And the guy's so afraid he won't do it. And Charlie Hunnam just like has to deal with this fucking feckless idiot. And like, yeah. And then he tries to coerce him after he goes back to England and tells his version of what happened. They put him on a horse and send him back to like a town in Brazil because they're sick of his bullshit. Yeah. And he tells them that they left him to die or whatever. And he tries to force Charlie Hunnam to make a public apology. And he goes, I will give a public apology to my men, gesturing to Robert Pattinson for ever making them put up with you or whatever.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's a great movie.
Okay. I'll check that out.
We're talking about Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Talking about going home.
We're talking about the greatest comic book movie of all time, according to like everyone on the internet.
Well, it's only come out in a week, so everyone's high on their supply.
Yes, I know. Everything that comes out from Marvel ever is always the best of all time.
Right.
For about 3 weeks, and then the next, like, WandaVision came out, and they're like, it's the best thing they've ever done, and I'm like, no, it's not. And then,
I will say no. I don't think anybody said that about Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I saw some people who were just like, I love the. I mean, I'm not trying to take away their experience, but a friend of mine was like, I love the unapologetic blackness of Sam Wilson's family and stuff. And
I love that.
And I was like, yeah,
really
but that doesn't make it the greatest of all time or whatever. Just like, and then people were like, about what was the one after that? Loki. Like, Loki's the greatest thing of all time.
Yeah,
and
I definitely heard that a lot.
Yeah, and then like Thor Ragnarok, when it came out, everyone said that about it, and I'm just like, it's it's okay to like something, and it doesn't have to be the greatest thing ever.
Well, I mean,
Look up the definition of the term recency bias, people. That's what it is.
I will say that for this movie, which at this point, like a lot of these Marvel films don't have any impact on me, really, because they don't have any discerning elements of like any.
I agree.
It's not. I'm not poo-pooing on them. Obviously, I enjoy a lot.
You
of
hope
these
to be
films.
pleasantly surprised. Like
Right.
Black Widow pleasantly surprised me
Right.
because it had like a lot of artistic merit, I think, behind it.
There was some direction to it, and a lot of these feel very samey, and it's just, especially these Spider-Man movies. These Spider-Man movies have just been very, very much like, well, I'm not here for the direction. I'm not here for this the aesthetic.
Yeah, I unapologetically didn't really like Far From Home. I've watched it again recently, and I think the problem is because you can predict what's going to happen before it happens. Like, everyone knows Mysterio is full of shit. That's his whole thing in the comic books, is he's just a big LARPer. Like, he's just there to trick you.
But he's a mesmerist and all that, and it's just kind of a more technical version of.
But like, as soon as he shows up in the movie, I was like, oh, these elementals aren't really there, and he's pulling a trick on Nick Fury in the world, and he's gonna use it to kill Spider-Man, and it's probably like hologram technology or drones or something. It's exactly what it is,
and that's Mysterio. But
it's a perfectly fine movie, but
it's
it left
the frustration
no,
is that goes on into this film is that his illusion was so powerful that people still, we awaken to Spider-Man Public Enemy #1.
Yeah,
which that's not spoilers. That's what
That's what happens literally at the end.
Into No Way Home. So kind of the roundup of this before we get into the depths of it is, everybody knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
The Spooderman.
He is the Spider-Man. Him and MJ are now tight. They're boyfriend girlfriend, which Tom Holland and Zendaya are in real life as well.
Yeah,
it's kind of wholesome. They seem like sweet kids making millions.
It's the anti-Robert Pattinson, Kristen Stewart.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Where they have no chemistry and they're completely miserable on set. And
well, she's home wrecked him for like the Snow White director or whatever. When all that was happening. Remember Donald Trump commented on it?
I think
Robert Pattinson's gonna be fine. Leave Kristen Stewart.
Oh right, he was making tweets about that back in the 2000s. That's so weird. Yeah. But they seem to be doing okay. They're really good in this movie together. And the trailer made me think that the stakes were a lot lower going into it before he goes to Doctor Strange. But then I see, like, we get to see more of, like, the repercussions of this action. And he's a very empathetic young man who's like, I screwed up. Everyone around me deserves better than this. I'm going to Doctor Strange. He's a magic man. Yeah. He could figure this out. So he goes to Stephen Strange.
We've only had one Doctor Strange movie. We've seen him like 5 times.
Yeah. He's a major character.
He's like, Thor Ragnarok shows up, and then Infinity War, he's definitely doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, before he disappears.
Yeah. And he also gives Thanos the biggest run for his money, I think, in a great fight sequence. And then he shows up in his own movie. And then I guess briefly in Endgame, and now here.
Yeah. So it's much like the Guardians. Even though the Guardians have had 2 movies, I almost would say Infinity Wars is a Guardians of the Galaxy movie because it focuses so much.
Yeah,
on
Infinity
them.
War. Infinity War is weird because who I feel is the not necessarily the protagonist shifts.
Yeah,
depending on what happens. Like, I felt the best character who comes out of that movie is Thor.
Right.
It's the best version of Thor I ever got. Not in a Thor in better than
Not
all
any
the
of the
Thor
movies.
movies to me. Even there's that. I love the. I know we're still talking about Spider-Man.
Well, I mean,
I
but this
have-
is his universe. We could talk
yeah,
about it.
I have to derail a little bit because I still love that that speech when it's him and Rocket Raccoon in the little escape pod going to the place to make the new hammer. I forget what it's called.
They're going to see
Nidavellir.
Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he goes, he gives him his fake eye or whatever. I love how they just completely underwrite the mock character arc of Thor Ragnarok. He's the new king of Asgard. Kill all the people, like whatever. He has no eye. Put the eye back in. Like he doesn't need the hammer anymore. Give him a new hammer. Like
They do kind of just like completely wash over that film. Like,
because
no,
that
no, no,
movie
not-
doesn't make sense in the grand. Like that, you could erase Thor Ragnarok, and the
Yeah.
movie is still the same. And
It's-
I'm not getting on it.
Right,
But
right. I
He's
like that
talking.
movie,
He's
but-
talking to Rocket Raccoon, and he's like. He's like, like we're going up against like Thanos. Like,
Bradley
are
Cooper.
you sure you're ready for this or whatever? And he's like, and he goes, well, he's like, I'm not afraid of him. He's like, he's never fought me. He's like, yeah. It's like, well, he's never fought me twice. And he goes, he's like the best there is. The two we're talking about here. And he goes, Thanos is just the latest in a long line of bastards, and he'll be the latest to feel my vengeance because I will it so, or whatever. And he has like a little cry for like all the people that have died in it, his father's dead, his brother's dead, his mother's dead, his friend is dead.
They were some of the first people to go were the Asgardians. Like,
yeah. And I was like, man, this is the version of Thor I wanted. And now every time we see Thor, it's always like, he's jokey. He's kind of the Guardians character now. So I really loved how they kind of gave us the god of, like, when he arrives in Wakanda with Rocket and Groot, I was like, hell yes, that's fucking good shit.
and they obviously have a lot of fun with that in his like sadness in Endgame, but yeah, you're right. I like him with a little more grit, him taking that control of, because we actually kind of play with this a little bit in this movie about like a character you don't suspect getting some grit.
Yeah.
Because he goes to Doctor Strange. Hey, Doctor Strange. Hey, Steve.
Can you fix this or whatever?
Yeah.
First, he asks him to turn back time, which I was like, at first I was like, why can't he do that? I was, oh yeah, he didn't have the time stone anymore.
I can do magic. I can't do a time stone. This is also a moral of I'll talk about it as something that I find frustrating about this movie. I quickly forget it for the sake of cool.
Yeah.
But this is kind of really convenient. Is that I was sitting there, I was like, you need to Aladdin this a little better. Like, I was like, you need to think these wishes out a little. Like Doctor Strange really screwed the pooch in not like, in being like,
Just
hey,
being like, take 10 minutes.
take 10 minutes,
Write it
be
down on a
very
piece of paper.
specific, make sure you're getting everything right. Instead, they just hop into this, and I'm like,
I love the part where he's like, I just love how frustrated he is, where it's like, he's like, everyone in the world will forget you were Spider-Man. And he was like, oh, like, even MJ, can I? He's like, everyone except MJ will forget. And then he's like, but my friend Ned should. And he just like starts looking
Aunt
at
May, like, and just like,
what he should have done, what he should have done, this is going to be a woulda, coulda, shoulda, but what he should have done is as soon as he did the first spell and he wanted to change it, he's like, stop. Like, we're stopping. I'm containing this one so we don't have an even more powerful
go sit
spell.
down.
Think about it.
Think about this.
Now, of course, we can't have that because Peter Parker is supposed to be like a kind of a goofy idiot or whatever.
Which it's Tom Holland. He plays it very well, but it is. I think this is on Doctor Strange. Should have been a little less. Should have a little bit more mature about things.
I think it's both of them.
It's both of them. But without going into spoiler territory too quickly, what you know from the trailers is the spell has a hiccup, and that hiccup is it breaks through the multiverse, and this is where we get villains and adversaries from the different Spider-Man films of the last 20 years breaking through into the MCU and them dealing with that existence and them dealing with this new Peter Parker.
Little theory as well. Do you think, like, because technically the multiverse isn't a thing until they break it in Loki. They break the sacred timeline or whatever.
Right.
So do you believe that he could have cast that spell before and the same results would have happened? Because I don't think that wouldn't jive with canon.
I think if that was the case, they would have brought it up in the movie.
Yeah.
That like I think that would have been something that is, if it's not going to be discussed in this, it'll be discussed in Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
But I think if that
Because we
was
are
an
getting
option,
more previous Marvel characters.
they would say something.
Yeah, we are getting more previous Marvel characters, from what I understand, in that movie.
Well, I hope
like
so.
Chris Evans is coming back as the Human Torch.
As the Human Torch,
I don't
yeah.
know anyone else, but I believe we should expect one or two other ones as well. I can't remember who they are.
And this will be an easy way for them to introduce more characters as well. But I can see them doing that. Pretty much after this, it's all kind of spoiler territory. So pretty much.
Well, let's just talk like loosely. Do you like it or do you not like it?
Of the 3 Spider-Men that have come out, I'll probably end up watching this one the most. I think it's the most complete film.
I agree with that.
It has a much greater emotional catharsis. The action's really good. They balance all of these, like literally the most loaded cast of villains by balancing out their humanity so well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think there are too many characters in the sense that some of them I'm like, he says 2 lines of dialogue.
Right.
Like the lizard, you could write him out of this movie.
Yeah, he's mostly a joke. Yeah, and he's mostly just kind of a cartoon joke. He doesn't need to be in this film. But I get it. Because you think about who's not here.
Because if you don't do that, then the only person from the Amazing Spider-Man series is Jamie Foxx.
Right.
So you only have one of him and then like 3 of the other ones.
Right. Unless you bring in, what's his name as Osborn.
Yeah.
God, Dean DeHaan.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not do that.
That kid's a good actor. It's just that's not his best
That would
work.
be, I could see how that'd be fun to have 2 goblins.
My greatest regret about the Green Goblin as a character is that we will never have him in the MCU. And I would love a comic accurate, like green, elfy, scaly, with a purple tunic and hat. Like you could tweak it and modernize it a little bit, but the fact that we're never going to get Spider-Man's Joker in the MCU does kind of sting a little bit.
Unless,
but I know people are like, we had 2 Spider-Man franchises where we had him. People, if we did it again, people would have been
and Amazing didn't even get to him. They had a Norman Osborn. He was completely off screen because they were setting up the Sinister Six, and we never got that movie.
Yeah,
because the franchise fell apart.
Yeah,
and they actually kind of deal with that in this movie by making Andrew Garfield. Spoilers, Spider-Man's show up, Tobey Maguire. And
someone ruined that for me, by the way. The internet being, and also, like,
I guess that's kind of hard.
The media being assholes ruined it as well. Like, 2 days after the movie came out, I hadn't seen it yet, and they're posting, like, Sony talking about revitalizing the Amazing Spider-Man. So I know he's in the fucking movie now. Right. I mean, I would have liked that.
Not the most shocking thing.
No, but I would have liked it to
have
be
a little bit more suspense
or something.
And
it's like someone ruining Martian. Like, I knew Martian Manhunter was going to be in the Snyder Cut or whatever. Right. But it's like, imagine like someone being like someone now considering Martian Manhunter series after, and you didn't know that, and you were like, thanks, internet. Like,
I think there was definitely a few things I saw where I'm like, y'all are talking about this way too quick.
Yeah.
Like, I think as I was walking into the theater, like, that pre-movie stuff with, me and Menudo, whatever, they're talking about movies a lot. And they were talking about Spider-Man. And I'm like, y'all don't talk about the movie that just came out because you're talking about it after it's come out.
But, I think it's fair we can still keep it non-spoilery while admitting like they're in the movie. Yeah. Whatever. If you're listening to this,
effect is in the movie. That's what you got to find out.
Yeah. And also, we'll get to that in spoilers, actually. But
we know, obviously, Dr. Octavius shows up.
Yeah. Of the previous Spider-Man villains, who was your favorite in this movie? Who do you think has the best?
Oh God, it's not nostalgia; it's performance. It's a tie between Molina and Defoe because they bring it.
Yeah,
they bring it big.
I really love how you forget like. In Spider-Man 2, like what he is like before he has those arms.
Yeah.
And then he's like a perfectly nice, genial dude.
Yeah.
And whenever he becomes, at some point, we see what I would call, pre-arm Doc Ock in this movie. Mm-hmm. He's really nice.
He's the sweetest dude. It's just everything fell apart for him, and then that thing fucks with his head, and he just gets angry.
Yeah. I agree with that as well.
But I was just happy they brought such to these characters, and and Jamie Foxx is having fun in this, though it's kind of inconsistent a little bit.
Yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man characters suffer from revisionist history.
Yeah,
and I don't like it. Not necessarily because I feel like it could be Jamie Foxx was like, I don't really want to do that performance again. It could have been like, I didn't like that performance. It wasn't well received in the movie,
Right.
or whatever. I thought he was.
Chance to get a second chance.
Yeah, in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, no matter what people say, and a lot of like, because this movie's come out, like everyone loves every Spider-Man movie. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is not a good movie, and I don't like it. And no amount of nostalgia is going to make me like it. However, Jamie Foxx's performance as Electro in that movie is actually kind of good as this kind of meek, like kind of sad character who can get shit on by Ryan from The Office and everyone else in the movie. Like, I kind of like that he just like wants someone to give a shit, and that is kind of what makes him. I always say I love villains that you could have saved by just giving them a hug at the right moment or whatever.
I think about like Guy Pearce's character in Iron Man 3.
Yeah, maybe.
It's like if someone wasn't just such a dick to him and like gave him a chance, he wouldn't have turned into an asshole.
Yeah. But him and the Lizard, they kind of change characters a little bit. Now, the Lizard, you can kind of get away with it because it's like when he's the Lizard, he's out of control or whatever.
He's feral.
I also don't believe they ever established that he can talk as the Lizard.
In the movie, in The Amazing Spider-Man?
Yeah, I don't think he can.
I guess they did because... RZA,
I haven't seen it in a long time.
RZA fans and Thomas Hayden Church returned to do the voices for Kirk Connors and
Well, we see both of them
Flint
as
Marko.
humans for half a second.
That is reused footage.
Is it really?
It is. They weren't on set. I read about that last night. Those are reused footage from their films. So they weren't on set.
Okay.
That's why they didn't get this isn't a spoiler, but that's why they didn't get like credits in like the credit features.
Ironically
why
enough,
are they not featured? Where's RZA Fens and Thomas Hayden Church?
Yeah, Thomas Hayden Church has a performance though, kind of.
Yeah, he's
Rhys
a character.
Ifans doesn't.
Yeah, Sandman has a character in this, and he's kind of
When he showed up in the movie, you were like, "Oh yeah, that's right. He's the nice one."
Yeah,
he doesn't want to kill
he has
anybody.
No reason to be a bad guy.
Yeah,
he's just like, I don't trust anybody.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, but most like when we first meet him, he helps Spider-Man out.
Right.
I was like, that's kind of cool. But like Jamie Foxx's character is completely different from the Amazing Spider-Man, and I kind of don't like.
There's like a sliding scale of evil in these guys, and most of them are not. And then mostly it's just Connors. Connors just gets kind of pooped on because it's like, I want to turn everyone into lizards. And they're like, yeah, that was his plan.
Yeah.
That's really stupid, isn't it?
Yeah.
The movie just kind of being like, yeah, that was kind of dumb, right?
Yeah.
You just want to turn everyone into
he
lizards.
goes, I could change you. And he goes, what? Change me to a lizard? Is that what you want to do? And he's like, yes. I love lizards. I don't know why. I just want everything to be a lizard.
Tell you, it's really great.
Doesn't look that great.
No.
Looks like
he's
a
smiling all the time. That
Yeah.
lizard's got a big old grin on his face the whole time.
Yeah, but I agree. Defoe and Alfred Molina get a lot to do.
Yeah.
Although I did,
And them interacting with each other.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing I'll say about this script is a lot of people, there are a lot of missed opportunities when you have crossovers like this. I think they got the most out of it. They got
there's-
moments I wanted to see, and I was like, I love that did that.
there's missed opportunities in the sense that you only have so much that you can do, and you only so many ideas that you can have.
Right. I got worried that they would cut that out. Like I got worried early on that they were going to be like, that they were like, oh, that's not going to be the focus of this film. Like they're going to find something else to bring in. I was like, they don't. They keep it with it. So you go ahead and with your like pre-spoiler thoughts. I think
Yeah.
it's time we just talk about the movie.
The thing that I like the most about it,
I'll also say one last thing also, not last thing obviously, but what I love about this movie is it's clearly one of like, this is act 2 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know, Thanos is over. We're now entering the next phase. And this is a really good, high stakes, consequential chapter to get going with.
it could be. It depends on how they
depends on how they
top it off.
Right.
The real thing that depends with me is because like they end Loki with setting up Kang the Conqueror.
Right.
Essentially, a lot of people think that Jonathan Majors in Loki is Kang the Conqueror. No, Kang the Conqueror is a multiversal variant of that character.
Right.
Also, Kang the Conqueror is a descendant of Reed Richards, so he ties into the Fantastic Four or whatever. I am very cautiously excited to see what they do with him in the new Ant-Man film because that's where he is going to show up first.
Okay.
You better keep that dude around. I just watched the end of Hawkeye last night, and I feel like they really whiffed that last episode.
I've not seen it.
Made a bunch of choices that I'm like, that was a mistake.
Very curious.
When Kang the Conqueror shows around,
Was that the last episode, like season finale?
last episode.
Okay.
I think it is. It definitely played like a last episode.
Well, I'll have to watch it.
But you better keep Kang the Conqueror around a while.
Well, they set him up like this is going to be
gone
the
by
Thanos of this franchise.
Yeah, because he is potentially as dangerous as Thanos. He's not just physically powerful, but when it comes to time travel and like traveling the multiverse, he can set into motion events that will benefit him greatly.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways that you'll never see coming.
And
that's
and who can really challenge him but someone like Stephen Strange, like, because multiverse stuff gets into levels of like, and that's what I like about this movie is the previous Spider-Men have always been about technology and science, and this is the first time they're tackling the world of magic and superstition.
Yeah. I think the stuff that I like about this movie the best is there's a lot of great stuff with like Tom Holland and his supporting cast.
Yes.
And stuff that's really great. There is a great cameo in this movie that I literally was like, when he showed up for a second, I was like, thank you, Jesus.
I know what you're talking about.
Because I was like, you can't take it back now. It's canon. There's no one doing that.
Talk about cross.
Put him in the movies now. Put him in every movie. The negatives I have are really just negatives like, well, I would have liked more of this. One of it is like, I kind of miss, and I don't know when it happened, but it definitely happened. If you watch all the Spider-Man movies, from Spider-Man, Sam Raimi's one, all the way to this one, there's a weird sanitization of the violence that happened. And I don't know when it happened, but it happened like, because we talked about this at like, remember the end of Spider-Man 1 where Green Goblin fights him in that abandoned, like, ruined church? Is like, misery, misery, misery. That's what you've chosen. I gave you power, and you spit in my face. And he just like beats the shit out. He throws a bomb next to his face and just
like
destroys
cuts
him
and stuff.
And
like
he just savages him. And then he talks about like
a lot of body count in it.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of gruesome.
Yeah,
and it's like this is what like if you fought a person like the Green Goblin,
he'd be this vicious.
This is exactly what he would be like.
Right.
And I was like. And when, at the end of it, he's like, after I'm done with you, I'm going to go visit MJ. And he goes, and I'm going to finish her nice and slow. Because we're going to have a hell of a time. And right before he kills him, then Spider-Man finds his rage and beats him. Because of that, I don't necessarily mind that Green Goblin technically kills himself.
Right. Godspeed, Spider-Man.
But there's plenty of other parts where a villain will kill themselves. And I'm like, that's a cheap way out. Right. I don't feel like you earned that.
But we often don't. These days, we often don't want that. They often don't want the finishing blow to be from the hero. Like,
Coward's way out. Don't like it.
But like this isn't. I mean,
Spider-Man should kill every. No, I'm kidding.
But like Batman, for instance, and not because Batman is like hands off on everything, but he doesn't like in the Batman '89. Like, yeah, he like makes sure the Joker doesn't.
He kills a lot of people. In that
kills
movie.
a lot of people in that movie, but like. With the Joker, with Jack Nicholson, like he's mostly like trying to like, nope, you don't go anywhere. And then that gargoyle breaks and sends him down to. Yeah. He doesn't like you think about like who are the villains that died in the Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher run, and it's like
ironically Val Kilmer might be or George Clooney might be the only one that doesn't kill his enemies. He saves Victor Freeze, and he doesn't kill.
He doesn't kill Poison Ivy. Yeah. Val Kilmer, the only thing he does is like he
throws
the
coins
a
up,
coin and Two-Face freaks out himself and falls to his death.
Yeah,
and so it's like I can't think of many situations where there's a superhero movie other than like we're talking about Man of Steel, but that's like that stands out because of that.
It's designed to be there is no way out.
Right,
you have to make a choice.
But I can't think of anywhere where it's like. They put the fatal like blow. I mean, you can argue Batman in Batman Begins. I don't have to save you.
Murder.
He lets him die.
Yeah, that's still murder. It doesn't matter. Yeah, or it's not murder, but like I mean, Ra's al Ghul can go fuck himself.
It's manslaughter.
But like even in like in the opening of Endgame when they go to meet Thanos on his little retirement home or whatever,
right,
and Thor's and he comes up and he's talking to his daughter. He's like, I always knew you cared. And then Thor doesn't even let him finish. He just cuts his head off immediately.
Right.
And he's like, that was because I didn't do it when I should have or whatever.
Right.
And like it kind of tortures him that he was late. Like there's ways where if you don't kill a villain or if you do kill a villain, I'll let you have it. Man of Steel, I'll let you have it if you kill him that way. Or like Batman killing people in the warehouse, it's a thematic arc or whatever because like he was once a Batman that didn't do this.
Right.
We've established that and now he's fighting to reclaim his identity, and like there's thematics that I'll let you have, but like I'm talking about just violence writ large.
Right. Well,
And
the
that- and
90s,
Spider-Man-
the 90s and the 2000s were so different. Like
Spider-Man, like that, like in Spider-Man 1, there's that real gruesome fight scene at the end. In Spider-Man 2, when he's fighting Doc Ock, there are plenty of times.
I have not seen Spider-Man 2 in a very long time.
It holds up great.
Well, I know it does.
Watch it.
I've heard it's like, oh, well, I guess another one, I'm thinking about X-Men. What was the X-Men? X-Men. Like,
The X-Men definitely, like, it went through this too a little bit. Like, I remember, like, when the first time we see Wolverine, he pushes that dude up into the wall and his claws come out of his skin and it looks real visceral.
Yeah.
There's, like, a sense of viscera to it. Like, this guy's could be, at any moment, a murdering
well, I
rage
mean,
machine.
and he's killing people and he's slicing them up and everything.
Yeah.
And then, like, obviously, Storm kills Toad, you know, strikes him with lightning. I mean, I don't think she controlled the lightning, but like she caused the storm.
Yeah.
You know what happens to a frog when he gets struck by lightning? Same thing that happens to everything else.
In Spider-Man 2,
I don't know how they take out Sabretooth. I forgot.
Wolverine just kills him.
Yeah, Wolverine just kills him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good because like they're arch
that guy.
nemesis. They
Right.
should, yeah. But like in Spider-Man 2, he first fights Doc Ock and like he'll like punch him. Like my point is, when was the last time you remember outside of this movie that we're talking about now that you remember Spider-Man like punching somebody like in the face?
Well, he hasn't. I know. I mean, you make up a good point earlier talking about one of the positives of this is that it really focuses on Peter Parker and his crew.
Yes.
Because this is the first movie really where Spider-Man's kind of on his own. Like, Far From Home is that, but this feels so particular. Like, Stephen Strange is antagonistic to him, so he's not on his side.
Yeah.
But he has to do this himself, literally.
Yeah.
But he has to do this with himself.
Especially when he first starts out. I'll finish up this point real quickly.
yeah.
It's like after he fights Doc Ock the first time and he kidnaps Aunt May and climbs up that building and like they fight, and you do get a sense that Spider-Man is pulling his punches a little bit, but he'll definitely like he'll put some hurt on you.
Yeah.
Whereas when they fight again later, when he kidnaps Mary Jane, he fights him on top of he's on top of like a clock tower. And I remember there's a part where they're fighting and like the action. Sam Raimi, for all his horror chops, that guy does like action really good.
Yeah, well, everything's
And,
very percussive.
Yeah, and like he's punching him in the face, and like Doc Ock throws him off the tower. He breaks a big giant clock hand, throws it down at him like a spear. Spider-Man webs himself to the building, grabs the spear, and like slingshots it back, and it lands an inch from his face, from Doc Ock's face. He's not fucking around with this dude. Like he will take you out if he has
villains, and he's like, I'm still gonna have to kill you because you're trying to kill everybody.
Well, I think it's because like at this point, like he had lost his powers in the movie.
Yeah.
And Mary Jane being taken, like awoken, like kind of like in the first movie, awoken his spider abilities again. Like it's just real visceral. I don't necessarily think that he would kill him outright, but if he had to, I feel like he probably would, because Doc Ock is he's not as bad a person, but he's a bigger threat, what he wants to do, than the Green Goblin is.
Because he's just a maniac.
And then somewhere around like Amazing Spider-Man 1 and Amazing Spider-Man 2, we don't let him fight our villains. And a lot of times the villains are intangible. You can't punch Electro in the face.
Right. And
it's a lot of time they use their webs to like tie them up, or they'll use webs and they'll evade in really cool, crafty ways. I remember there's a great part. I think it's the Stan Lee cameo where you see the Lizard and Spider-Man fighting in the background, and he's just doing something. And there's a part where a desk comes right up to his head, and you think it's about to hit him, and then it just stops, and it's revealed that Spider-Man webbed it and threw it back at the Lizard. It's really great.
That's just.
But we never see them like fight. They're bad guys, and it starts to really bum me out. And there's a little bit of that in all these new Marvel movies, where like we'll let them fight, but only certain kind of characters get to like get up close and personal.
Well, it's kind of like
but
what you're
in
talking
this
about
movie,
intangible.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of intangible creatures and entities that they're fighting.
Like in Far From Home, he's just throwing their drone, so we don't care if he webs a drone into another drone.
Right.
But there is no upfront facing your villain. Which is why I like a villain like Venom, because it's hard to beat Venom without getting up in his face and fighting him.
Well, that's why like the first Iron Man still holds up so well, because the fight with him and Stain, even though they're in mech suits, is so visceral.
It's
and I mean,
confrontational.
they kill him.
Yeah.
They kill him. When she pulls that switch, that fries.
Yeah, but that also started
Jeff Bridges.
That also started the cliche of a beam shoots into the sky or whatever. But my point is, this movie confronts that a little bit.
Yeah.
By bringing back someone like the Green Goblin, who is definitely the most dangerous person in this movie.
As we find out. Yeah.
I think this is a good place to get into spoilers.
Yes. Let's talk about this movie. So
Because any negatives I have, I'll have to be spoiler heavy.
Yeah.
I really like it. It's definitely my favorite of these three. I don't necessarily
definitely
know
of
if
these
it's
three.
my favorite Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man 2 is really great.
I mean, it doesn't outshine the Sam Raimi's, but I think it's.
I mean, it does.
I think it's one of the best Spider-Man stories, and I think it's the best Tom Holland has been in this role.
Yeah. I think it's
he
better
puts
than
in a wonderful performance in this, like a real heart-aching,
Yeah.
sincere performance. Like he's found this character.
Yeah.
And it's because this is a story about the precipice of a child, essentially a child becoming a man. There's a little bit of that as an undertone. Like
Yeah.
the responsibility is a big R word that you're going to have to deal with in this movie.
I think it's better
throws
than
that on
Spider-Man 1 and 3. I mean, it's definitely better than those three. I actually don't hate Spider-Man 3 the way some people do. I just hate the Venom arc.
Yeah.
But
Which just kind of gets brought up for a second.
I found an alien of black goo
I've been to space. Like, man, I want to fight an alien.
in space. I found a guy in a rhino suit.
I found this Russian guy in a rhino.
It was Paul Giamatti. He was going to
I'm
come
glad-
back for the
that
movie.
was the only other person that's like, we're not bringing back Paul. I bet Paul. No, I'm not coming back. Dang it.
I bet he would do it.
You think he would do it? You
Yeah,
think he'd
he's
come
not
back
in
as
a lot of
Rhino?
stuff right now, sadly. Like he should be, but I wouldn't mind seeing Goofy. Like, I mean,
Maybe
if
he's-
Jamie
maybe
Foxx can come back and just be cool, suave Jamie Foxx,
Yeah.
instead of like meek, mild mannered Max, like, why can't he come back and just retcon that too? I don't care.
Be fun if it was like a little cameo in another movie where it's like he did show up, but it was just somewhere else.
Yeah, but yeah, let's get to
Let's
like.
let's get into the meat and potatoes.
I'm gonna talk about
of this one.
my favorite scene in this movie. I think I have two, and it's the part where first of all, when he cures Doc Ock's reaction is so good.
Yeah.
I love it. Like Doc Ock's entire character can be summed up and like, we tire of your questions, boy. And then on the other hand can be, my dear brilliant boy. Like is like his entire thing.
Melina sells it every second of the way because that's one of the things I like about this is, and it's such a smart thing to do in this script, is they're like, all these people are people. They're yeah, some of them are monstrosities, but they're humans whose circumstances put them in that situation.
Yeah,
the only one who's
gotta
got
be
any
careful
kind
where
of-
you fall.
right. Yeah, be careful where you. The only one that has any real malice is Osborn because of that split personality thing he has going on.
Yeah.
And Electro a little bit too, but that's because of he's literally power hungry.
Yeah, I don't like how they resolve Electro necessarily, and he's just like, yeah, I guess I'm okay with it now.
He is a bridge too far in this. Like, I love seeing Jamie Foxx, and I love that he gets to have fun in this movie, but like, I don't know what his character is in this.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, I love power. Ooh, this is some tasty power.
But then at the end, he's like, yeah, I guess I won't be a murderer now.
Yeah,
and I was like, all right.
yeah, it's like he's a wild card. Like,
Sandman, he just wants to go home.
Sandman
And I think
doesn't trust anybody.
I actually think Sandman kind of like I really liked Thomas. I didn't know that he didn't come back. I didn't know that it was just his voice. But like, I actually really liked the fact that like, for a character that his character arc, he doesn't really get one, but like his character arc is that he gets to go home or whatever. But like, I really liked him, and I wish that there's some things with the script I think that you could have done to really make him a better character.
Well, and also he's the odd man out. He's the only one that's not a scientist.
Yeah,
He's just a dude.
yeah,
Like all the rest of them are scientists in some variety.
yeah. They literally stick the lizard in a truck for like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
or
because
whatever.
again, they don't know what to
Yeah.
do with him because he's a joke.
But
But he's the only one that they can like. He's only one that they can physically punch.
yeah. My favorite scene, the scene where Peter's spider sense light up and he feels like something is wrong, but he doesn't know what it is. Then he looks at Norman Osborn and he webs him
Before he grabs
because we know. And then he's like, Norman's on sabbatical, honey. And I was like, I love
Defoe in this movie, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah.
If you looked over at me, I was going, Defoe.
Yeah.
That he calls him honey. Great.
Yeah.
Great. That's no holds barred.
Well, I just love how tense it is, and I love that they foreshadow it. We're like, as soon as they make Octavius better, he's like, how can I help? And he comes in there and he's talking with Willem Dafoe and he's like, aren't you excited, Norman? He's like, we're going to make you whole again. And then they just show a shot of the back of, they just show a shot of the back of Dafoe's head for a little longer than is necessary. And then he just turns around and he just kind of smiles at him. And I was like, that's real good.
Yeah.
That's great filmmaking. Because like they just let it linger. And there's a great line where he's like, what, you want him to fix us? And he was like, you're always stuck between trying to live your life and choose to do things your way, or and have everything you want. And he goes, but gods don't have to choose. And then he looks at like Electro, and Electro's like, yeah, I don't want to have to choose either.
Yeah, because he knows who's going to be sympathetic to his side, and Max is already so chaotic, like neutral.
Yeah,
and he's just like, I'm feeling pretty good, man. That is kind of helpful to have Jamie Foxx in it, because he's the wild card. He's the one who is more tinged to evil. It's like you can kind of like split the difference a little bit and be like, all right, well, Octavius is a reasonable man and he can be worked with. Sandman is not evil. He's just doesn't trust anybody. He's completely frustrated. Lizard's just kind of a character.
Sandman's character arc is that, and it's why I don't hate Spider-Man 3, because it ends with that I forgive you moment, which is like his arc is just that, like, I'm not a bad person. I've just had a lot of really hard times and bad luck.
Right. It's very similar to something like Keaton's Vulture. Except he's a little more sadistic.
Yeah, Keaton's Vulture is just like, I just want to make money. I'm not trying to kill anybody, but I will kill someone if I can't make money.
I will kill a child if I have to. But I got friends at the docks.
But like he accidentally kills Uncle Ben. Or whatever. And Uncle Ben
that's a big retcon anyway in that movie itself.
Yeah. But even like the moment where he's talking to Peter Parker and he's like, he told me, why don't you just put down the gun and go home? And I realize now he was just trying to help me. And like, that's his character arc. And there was a better way to do both of these, and I'll get to rewrite the screenplay later. But I think there's a version of this movie where Sandman is more proactive and the Lizard isn't forgotten about.
Yeah.
That you could, I kind of wish, and I know if you do this, then people are going to be just like, well, then it's not just about the Spider-Man. And I'm like, it's already not really just about the Spider-Man.
Yeah, because
Doctor Strange is in this movie too. We got to get to that in a second.
Yeah. Well, everybody came to this movie, I feel, because it's like, hey, we're bringing back everything. Yeah. Like, this is... I mean,
it's that meme from The Social Network with Andrew Garfield. I didn't come back for 30%. I came back for all of it, or whatever.
And this is also, I think a lot of people have come away with this saying Andrew Garfield kind of stole the show a little bit in this movie.
He definitely gets. They imply that him and Tobey Maguire, some time has passed since the last movies that we've seen them.
I wish they leveled into that a little. What I would have liked is, like, before those portals opened, we see, because they talk about, like, we know what's going on already.
Yeah.
So I want to know, what were those moments in their timeline where they're like, something's wrong here.
Do a 5-minute little mini movie of each of them about what they're doing right before they got sucked into
what sent them to those moments where the portals open and then they walk into our world. Or walk into the MCU world. Yeah. Because I'm like, how do they know?
Yeah, but then you make the movie like 15 minutes longer or whatever. But I kind of don't care.
It's a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
They're always 3 hours long.
No, they're not. They're always 2 hours long.
Almost 2 hours long.
But like Endgame is 3 hours long. I think you could have. People like Spider-Man definitely a lot, so like you could have gotten away with it. I don't hate that idea necessarily. So
they definitely should have been like.
It would have given us
Spider-Man needed to.
But
be
then do we have to bring back?
age.
Do we have to bring back Sally Field and Kirsten Dunst to show them in their life necessarily?
I think you can get Dunst.
Yeah, we got to show that. We got to
get Kirsten Dunst.
We got to show what they're doing. Like Andrew Garfield implies he's gotten a little bit darker and a little bit more hopeless.
Right.
He said I stopped pulling my punches or whatever. And Tobey Maguire implies that him and MJ found a way through it all.
Right. Well, I'd like to think like by the time that was all over, they got married and like
probably
and like had kids maybe or something like that, and just be like, hey, I'm a fan. Like that could be that divide. Like I can't find anybody. What about you? And it's like I settled down. I have a family. Like it's a weird thing not to do, given that of everybody there, Maguire is the most aged. He definitely now looks middle aged. Like he looks like a man in his 40s.
Yeah.
Which was funny because he was always older looking anyway when he was supposed to be in high school. But like he needs that. They could have had an opportunity because it's not like I say it's not like it's very possible they won't return to him in his world. But we don't know that.
Yeah.
Now we have these timelines that have changed because of the end of the film.
There's always like, how much did was Tobey Maguire really in this movie?
Right.
Not that much. And like all the action stuff is stunt guys and CG.
Right.
I don't see a reason why he would be like, I'm not doing it again. Like, Andrew Garfield seemed to imply that, like, Sony has implied it was a send-off for the two of them, but I see plenty of ways they could all come back if they wanted.
I think after this movie, this was such a good movie for his Spider-Man and for his character. It was a way to sort of clear the palette and get some of the gunk off after that duo, that two films was so pooed upon. Like this, and now he gets to have some levity, and really he feels like that. Someone mentioned like he feels very big, like the middle child.
Yeah.
And this gives him a chance to really.
Well, Tom Holland has stars in his eyes, and Tobey Maguire looks his age.
Yeah.
So he's kind of lost in the. He's the one who's most wayward.
He's the one whose arc never finished.
Yeah.
Because they didn't do the third film. They dropped it all, and it kind of got maligned, and he got maligned in it. So, and they don't discuss that outright, but it is kind of an undertone. And of course, there's a sequence in this.
They give him an arc without
making it clear.
They give him an arc without giving him an arc.
Right.
The real moment that he did that really lands really great is when Michelle falls off the thing and Peter Tom Holland tries to grab her. Goblin comes in. First I thought he stabbed Tom Holland on his glider because he's got the blades.
That glider
is a menace to everyone around it.
As we find out.
And that happens, and then Andrew Garfield springs into action. He jumps off and he webs her and grabs her, and they land, and she's she looks up at him and she goes, "Are you okay?" And he's like tearing up a little bit, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm okay."
Yeah, that started getting me too.
But I was like,
that got me.
I was like, oof. Yeah. Because what that is it's his
second chance.
Everything goes back
to save Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, well, everything goes back to Zack Snyder. It's his warehouse scene. It's his, like, Batman couldn't save his mom. Right. But he saves Martha Kent. He couldn't save Gwen Stacy, but he saves this Peter's MJ. Right. So he gets his mea culpa in a way. Well, yeah, absolutely. And it really lands well. Tobey Maguire doesn't really have a moment like that because he's already his arc finished more smoothly in his own movies.
Right. I wish he kind of was like an older brother sort of status. Like, again, they could have fleshed him out a little more, but he's kind of just here. But him and Andrew Garfield, the one thing, they just have good chemistry with each other. Yeah. When they're just hanging out and chatting.
They all have great chemistry together.
I would love the movie of them just running around having fun.
All three of the Spider-Men have great chemistry together. Like, they have really cute. The only things that I don't like is like it's just because Marvel movies do this because we've convinced audiences that this is good. Is like in the middle of a battle, they'll have a bunch of jokes that they shouldn't be having right now. But like the jokes when they're in the lab together, like, does that come out of your body? Like, that's really good.
Peter, yeah. Oh, and they're all saying the exact same thing. That was.
But
really
like
funny.
when they're in a swirling sandstorm, and he's like, "I was in the Avengers. What? You were in a band? That's really awesome," or whatever. And I'm like, "It's funny. I don't need this." I know other people like it. That's fine. It's not for me.
I like those little moments. Not necessarily in the middle of the action.
I love that Tobey Maguire is me. He's like, how is this helping? Like, what are we supposed to be doing? It's like, I'm Peter 1, you're 2, you're 3. Let's do it. Like,
yeah, he's being a big brother. Like, let's not dick around here. The fight sequences are really good. There's not too many because there's so much humanity going on. Yeah. The one that was underwhelming to me, and you kind of mentioned it as well, because it should be something super cool, and instead I just thought of like is the Mirrorverse with him and Strange.
I don't know if it's really a fight scene. It's really just more of an excuse to have like crazy mind-bending visuals or whatever.
But for some reason I was like, yeah, that's cool, but I thought about this. I'm like, it is so on the shoulders of giants that had to work harder to make that work, like Inception. Yeah. And it's like, it feels so easy now in this age of technology. Yeah. Like, it's like, it just.
I'm sure there's plenty of visual effects artists screaming at you, like, it's not easy. It took me thousands of hours in Nuke Studio. I think the problem I have with that scene is it's just Doctor Strange doing like 2 or 3 things that we've already seen him do before, over and over again: portal, cape, and mirror world, or the astral thing.
It's his power set, you know.
But like in Infinity War, we see him do.
Explain why his Spider-Man self still had control in.
It's his spider sense. his spirit is separated from his body, but his body knows something is up.
Oh, I didn't catch that at all.
Yeah. Well, that's how I interpreted it.
Okay.
Other people were like, "Oh, it's because in this comic book it shows that he's immune to magic or some nonsense." In my opinion, it's just his spider sense, and he's like, "I know, like something's up. I don't know what's up, but something's going on, and you're not getting this box for me or whatever."
That dropped from my mind so quickly that I was just like,
Spider-Man's not. He's abnormal even amongst a lot of the Marvel Universe characters. Spider-Man can lift a bus. Like, he's super strong.
He's very durable.
Yeah, so like a lot of and the fact that he has a spider sense is not unlike any other person's powers, really. I mean, I'm sure there's some telepaths out there who have something similar, but like it tracks that he would have something like that. I just don't like that in Infinity War. Like, Doctor Strange does all sorts of cool, different magics. And here he's just like, I guess this teenager who's just kind of nimble escapes me.
Right.
That's why I didn't like him being defeated. I would have liked a better way of him being taken out than like, I know geometry, put webs on this geometry and somehow I get him. I was just
you didn't like that. And I actually thought, I was like, that's fine.
It's fine, but I don't love it.
Right.
I feel like there's a weird sliding scale with a lot of these movies where like Doctor Strange will fight Thanos, but loses to Thanos too. But he'll lose to Peter Parker, and like I just is he the all-powerful sorcerer supreme, the greatest magical user of this universe, or is he an idiot?
Right.
Like,
or
which is
he
it?
Easily distracted because he hasn't had his coffee this morning.
Yeah, like,
but if that's the case, then play that up a little more.
Yeah. Or
Which
maybe
he did have his coffee anyway because he had that.
I would have liked it more probably if he did more inventive things to get that box from Peter.
Right.
He like one of the cool things that he does is he opens a portal and the portal just leads to another portal and it's just Spider-Man tumbling forever.
Yeah.
Really great.
I thought that
but like just understanding that he can do a lot.
He should wipe this kid out. Like, it shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah. Or maybe it starts with like he's being like, he's just a kid, I'm not gonna destroy him. And then as he gets more frustrated, like, all right, you asked for here comes lightning bolts. like I'm not playing
anymore.
anymore.
Open a squid universe. Get ready.
Yeah, that would have like a monster.
Here's an Eldritch horror. Like, good luck.
Yeah, like have you seen the What If series yet?
No.
You need to, first of all, before the Doctor Strange movie, you're going to want to watch that.
Yeah, I figured.
Because he does a lot of cool stuff in that series. And if you love the animation of Into the Spider-Verse, it's just very much like that. It's really dope.
2 thumbs up.
And the last 2 episodes of that series, I was like, this is some of the best animated action I've ever seen. It makes me look at like some of the other Marvel movies and be like, y'all could learn a thing or two from yourselves in this.
From yourselves. Yeah.
But
this is a good example.
I would have loved just like, there's a lot of interesting Doctor Strange magic in a lot of those episodes.
Good.
And I would have loved a little sprinkling of that here. It's fine. It's just an excuse to get him out of the way so Peter Parker can do stuff on his own.
For an indeterminate amount of time, the movie he just gets written out of the script for a little bit, just so we can have a movie.
Also, Doc Ock vanishes after the Goblin fight.
Yeah.
He just leaves?
He just leaves.
But Goblin is still there fighting Peter.
Yeah.
Maybe don't leave him with that lunatic. Let's talk about that fight, because we need to.
Well, we also need to talk about
everything else.
Well, we need to talk. Well, no, we can get to that. What else are we? So we got the road fight where he's trying to talk to the lady from MIT.
That was good.
That was good.
That was very good.
That was because there was a lot of creative stuff that happened.
Like Doc Ock is like throwing around giant tubes of concrete, bashing cars. Like that's an example of like, okay, he's not gonna try to punch the dude in the face, but Doc Ock is like so dangerous that like the getting nimbly out of the way of stuff is really entertaining.
Right.
But after
I felt like ooh, stakes in this. Like, you gotta save that lady.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, oh, I haven't felt that in one of these movies in a while.
It's also the first time we've seen Spider-Man do superheroing.
Yes.
Like, what's the most heroic thing he does? And he tries to save that boat in Homecoming.
Right.
But in Far From Home, he spends most of it just fighting like Mysterio's drones. Like he's like he'll stop a building from falling down, but like actively saving people is kind of not something we see him do a whole lot, which I thought was really cool.
It was nice because
it felt almost quaint, but I was like,
well, that is
because like when was the last time you saw Iron Man save a person like that? Right. Never. Like
because everything got so big. Now we're having to taper everything.
Now Iron
down.
Man's like, I'm building a suit of armor around the world. And
that
this car's about to fall off the cliff. I don't care.
That is kind of nice about this movie. I think it is something I really like about it is that yes, Doctor Strange is like, if we screw this up, this will open up a giant multi portal and all these different bad guys will show up. But beyond that, and that kind of leaves the movie for a little bit, the stakes are not world ending. they're very domestic. They're very small.
Yeah.
And that way everything feels a lot more tighter. Like it's not like, oh, if Spider-Man doesn't do this, the world ends. It's not one of those.
Yeah.
It's just he has to work the diplomatic things between this rogues gallery in order to save the day. And I was like, okay, I like that.
One thing that you could have done, I'll say that for the screenplay at the end.
Because also when he goes, when they got the tracker and they're chasing the anomalies and everything, and is Lizard already there? That's right. He already catches
Doctor
Lizard.
Strange
catches
Lizard. Already caught the
It
Lizard.
becomes Pokemon Go for a little bit.
Yeah. Which shows just more like how much like they're not worried about the Lizard in this movie.
Right.
Do we need to give him a cool scene where he's introduced? Nah, just have Doctor Strange do it.
I think that would have been fine.
I would have liked a cool scene with like a scary scene of him and the Stewars.
Yeah.
I would have liked that.
For him to be just like, oh, you're just a man. He's like, check this out. And he's like, magic. And he's like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's again. You got one or two choices beyond. If you got rid of the Lizard, who you gonna put in there?
Well, I'll get to that and rewrite the screenplay because I have an idea. I have an idea of how you could have utilized all of them a little bit more and maybe added more characters. Okay. One of them is really obvious. Like I'll save it for later, but just bring in comic book versions of characters that we know, like the Hobgoblin, or bring in Hydro Man or something.
Bring in Scorpion.
Scorpion he's the one holdover from Homecoming that I'm like, are we ever gonna get him?
The Brown Recluse.
Yeah, but my point is like bring them over, but like we're from universes that we haven't even seen yet.
Right.
That there are other Spider-Man universes. If Kraven the Hunter showed up and you were just like, who is that? Like we would all know who it is or something.
And they could have a little fun with that because it's like, I can't wait for Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah, we don't need everything explained. Who's a character that's just like a mindless destroying thing that he has to fight? I was like the Rhino, but we had the Rhino. we had the Shocker in Homecoming.
Yeah.
God damn it. I'm trying to think of some more. I love the Shocker. He's an underrated character.
Oh yeah, Shocker is in that.
I don't know. Any number of other Spider-Man villains that you could bring in and just be like, yeah, he's here now. We'll have him. Like the Chameleon. No,
Chameleon's not Chameleon's going to be in Kraven the Hunter in the Kraven movie. They've already mentioned that because I saw a little thing about the script. And it's going to be about Kraven kind of dealing with his family's legacy and their brothers.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, Kraven the Hunter and the Chameleon are brothers.
I had no idea.
That's canon in the Marvel thing. They're both Russian brothers.
Okay, cool.
I mean, they don't have to keep it that way.
All the Chameleon does is change, though.
Yeah.
He just looks different. So like, that's not that interesting to put into this movie.
You could kick his ass.
Yeah, I could beat him up.
Yeah, he's not that much of a trouble, especially in a world where it's like you have,
But there's you could have just brought in other Spider-Man villains and
other
it would have worked.
big fighters, or you could bring in a Rhino from a different world that looks like the
Rhino,
like the Rhino from Spectacular Spider-Man, one of the cartoons or something.
Yeah. There's all sorts of there's also all sorts of different like ways you could have brought it together or whatever, but like that's something you could have done.
I will say real quick, you see when he goes out to the electric lines and it's like, oh, we know the Shocker's going to show, not the Shocker, but Electro's going to show up, and you see that little like poofing of dust, and it's like that's before you know that Sandman's on his side. So when that happened, I was like, all right, great, that was really satisfying. And be like, you're not Peter Parker, but you're Spider-Man. And
he literally gives like, you go this way and I'll go this way. Like, got it.
Yeah.
I like that he's like, it felt very wholesome in a weird way that like, oh, they're not all monsters. I think there's a way you could have had him join the Spider-Man at the end.
Yeah.
But I also like the really cool visual. I noticed when the visual effects start where you see Electro's body kind of forming and like you hear the music from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And then you also of course hear music from the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans as well. Nice little touches.
Motifs that really work.
Good stuff. Y'all just gonna sit here and pretend I am butt ass naked? Like,
yeah, I was like, that's some fan service for some people. They're like, they just want to see Jamie Foxx looking good. Of course, one of the big things that happens in this movie. I guess we should talk about Jonah Jameson for a second because we got to get to the serious stuff. I would have loved if one of the other characters commented on it.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, not Jameson.
Or someone was like, this guy tells the real shit, sheeple, or something like that. He's good in it, but you could write him out of the movie and it's exactly the same.
Right. Even though he's part of a very pivotal moment, probably one of the most visually iconic moments in this movie, which is after the carnage that
the Goblin causes.
He's behind.
Spider-Man's in the rain and he's looking up at that big screen.
He touches turns to ruin. and it's actually like a really effective little moment.
It reminded me of like any number of Spider-Man comics that you'll read. You'll always have those moments where like Spider-Man is full of turmoil or something. There's a great moment like that when he meets Daredevil. We gotta talk about Daredevil.
Oh right, yeah.
The cameo that I freaked out because I genuinely thought he wasn't going to be in the movie.
Watch,
Yeah.
look, and I was like, what? And it's like, oh.
Charlie Cox played it so smooth in all these interviews where I was like, he's not going to be in the movie. Like they're just not going to do it or whatever. And then when I saw him in the movie, I was like, oh yeah. And I was like,
Matt Murdock.
and I wish they would put a bigger, but I know they put a nice button on it at the end. Like he has powers, by the way. Peter, like a brick comes through the window, he just catches it. And he was like, how did you do that? I'm a good lawyer.
I'm a really good lawyer.
Yeah. He's really great. It's exactly the same performance as his Netflix
I love
thing.
that Aunt May
There's
knows
no retconning of it at all.
No.
I was just happy to see him. I wish we would have seen him in the costume. I know it's already a big stuffed movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care.
It wouldn't have hurt.
It wouldn't have
hurt.
Have him capture the lizard.
Yeah.
Do something.
There
Yeah.
you go.
I'll put that in my rewrite the screenplay later.
Or like you said, like he stops somebody and then like jumps off, and the other two Spider-Men are like, who's that guy?
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's like, he's from Hell's Kitchen. It's scary down there.
Yeah, he's from Hell's Kitchen. Oh,
Vincent D'Onofrio ripped the man's head off with his car door or whatever.
There are too many of these Spider-Men.
Yeah. But I think that would have been great. It's also like it's weirdly frustrating because it's so easy to cameo those characters. Like an Iron Fist, a Luke Cage, a Jessica Jones. I don't care what anyone says. Season 2 of Iron Fist is a huge improvement on season 1.
What I've heard.
And but like have like how great would it have been? Like I know you haven't seen Civil War in a while. You remember when it's weird because Alfre Woodard is in Civil War as the mother of someone who was killed in Sokovia, and she confronts Tony Stark about it by themselves at this elevator.
Yeah,
but she's also in Luke Cage.
Oh. Okay.
So is Mahershala Ali is also going to be Blade. But like, how it would have been really interesting if like imagine in Civil War if it's Jessica Jones coming up and she sticks up like she's not a journalist, but like
she's a PI. Yeah.
And it wouldn't work with Jessica Jones, but like like any number of times where someone's in a bar, like have it be Luke Cage's bar. Like there's a million ways to cameo these characters that don't bog down your movies.
I don't know why they were so reticent to do it.
Exactly.
Other than like when all those series ended, when they just like pulled the death switch on them and like all of them got canceled. Yeah. It's like, oh well, they're going to be absorbed into Disney.
We're definitely going to see. If there's one thing I'm certain of, we may never see Tobey Maguire again. We will see Charlie Cox as Daredevil again.
Oh, hell
at some point.
That was a big like you were going to have a Daredevil, and I know without saying too much because of what I've had known, we definitely will see Kingpin again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we know he's in Hawkeye.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like,
but the way they end Hawkeye implies we may not see him again.
Okay, I don't want to know anything.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you anything, but I was kind of like, I hope we see him again because I like him.
Yeah.
I will say his sense of style has gone down since Daredevil. Oh. The way he dresses is much. He's got the white suit on, so everyone's like, it's like the classic. But he's got like a weird button-up Hawaiian shirt on underneath it. Like it's weird.
All right.
But great to see him. Even the little bit we got was enough to give me like.
And I'm glad that he got to do the little thing with the rock, and it's like,
yeah. If he just would have left and we have no idea like about his powers or whatever. Or like you could have had someone whisper something and he'd be like, that's not true, by the way, or like have him like, oh, he heard you, but then that's not nearly. You need to show people who haven't seen the Netflix movies
more than
that
just
he is
local guy. I'm actually quite good.
Yeah, you need to show people who haven't seen those Netflix series that by the way, this is Daredevil. No one called him. Did they call him by his name at all
in the movie?
Yeah. Does anyone call him Mr. Murdoch?
May calls him Matt.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They know each other.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, like that.
Like, thank you for coming in, Matt.
Yeah. So like that, if someone would have called him like Murdoch, that would be enough. But like, just the fact that they did the brick thing makes me feel like we're setting up another appearance from him later or whatever.
Definitely. I guess since we're talking, I mean, one of the big consequences in this movie is that, and I did not see this coming, is that they did kill off Marissa Tomei.
Yeah, I didn't think that was going to happen either.
Coming, and it was played very well, but it was a heavy spice in this movie.
At first, you think it's like, oh, she's knocked on her ass and they're going to be fine, and then she falls down again at the end.
She got hit by that glider. That glider
is a menace.
That glider is a menace, man. That thing will kill you. Yeah, that was real. That's where Holland's acting really comes in. Like, she dies. And I did not see it coming. That was something I was like in the theater, I was like, oh no.
Yeah,
Like,
bad.
'cause the whole thing is just like, if there's any character that is so like innocent and not wanting of consequences, it's Marissa Tomei's Aunt May. And I think for the longest time, it was just like, well, you know, she's the hot one. Everyone's like, she's the hottest, one of the most beautiful women in the whole franchise and all that. And the joke was, I saw pictures. Alfred Molina has been romantically corresponded with each of the actresses who has played Aunt May.
He has?
In different like plays and films.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So there's a picture. It just says, "Hello, nephews."
That's funny.
But yeah, she dies, and it's a lingered death. I haven't seen something like this in a Marvel movie in a while, like where it's just like it feels very permanent. Like I don't think they're gonna bring her back.
No, I mean, how would
that
you?
would completely swipe away the stakes. Yeah, because we set up with.
I
this,
say that
like,
they've done it like thousands of times before,
Right.
but like, but I would agree with you. Yeah,
Yeah,
it would feel.
It was. I'm glad they did it because it's something that they don't do very often, which is.
I'm surprised they did it, and they have yet to mention his Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
I thought that we would have gotten just a reference to her backstory a little bit before, but
because it becomes this thing where that's when the two other Spider-Men come in and are just like, hey buddy, you doing okay? And he's like, I don't want to hear about how it's like I've been through this.
he's like, there's a line that
I
Tom
don't want to hear
Holland
about
is
how
like,
you've been through this. I've been through this is me going through this.
yeah, and he's like, you're not supposed to be here, and he's like, I'm gonna end this all and send you home, and whatever happens to them is on you. And he was like, this is my mess that I made, and you don't belong here. Right. Literally, you don't belong here.
You're like, whoa, hey.
Also, I know, like, hard right turn. Can we talk about how great Andrew Garfield's introduction is? Like, she throws the bread at him, and he's like, "Do you have the tinkle thing?" And he's like, "I have the tinkle thing. It's not about bread."
Yeah,
bread.
He gets the best.
In the part where
bit.
he jumps up and just sticks to it,
Like, that's not enough.
And he's like, this is plenty enough.
And she's like, "Could you go get the cobweb over there?" He's like, "Okay, fine."
And he's just like,
He just gets it.
it's funny.
It's weird, and when Tobey Maguire pops through and they both do it, they both like oh the Spider-Man. And he's like, oh wait, all right, we're cool.
Yeah, they did the Spider-Man meme where they're all in the thing, they're all pointing at each other, but they don't. It's not.
I missed it if that was the case.
Yeah. Well, it's when they're all Peter and they're all wearing lab coats and they're like, which Peter? This Peter?
Yeah.
Or that? They're all like,
oh, that's how they did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, they couldn't do it with them all with their masks on and they just run in. I mean, I guess it is a way you could have done it.
You could have done it because then we don't know. Well, we do know because their outfits are iconic enough.
Yeah.
I could at least know which one was
Raimi.
Holland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Holland has like the iron spider stuff and stuff, but like Raimi's sticks out. Andrew Garfield's, like, if you look at it and like look next to Raimi's, it's a little hard, but Andrew Garfield is a little bit more wiry.
Yeah.
So he kind of sticks out. Also, I'm pretty sure Andrew Garfield is probably really in that suit a lot more than Maguire probably is.
Definitely.
So,
because this is like, I'm sure he had a blast. I'm hoping he did.
I hope he did too.
He's such a welcomed energy in this.
Yeah.
Like
I think his
such
energy,
a redemptive thing.
I think his energy in this movie is better than like there's a scene in The Amazing Spider-Man 1, which I think is actually a really solid movie. It still ends with like his plan is to turn people into lizards or whatever. But like, I think that movie holds up aside from that. But like, there's a scene where he's trying to tell Gwen Stacy that he's Spider-Man, and he's just stuttering and like, I just wish I could. And he's just overacting a lot, and it's just like it doesn't play. But here, his energy is dialed in a lot better, where he is still kind of a manic Spider-Man. Like his energy is like always slightly like he's just always slightly like like, you know what I mean?
Nervy.
Yeah. But like it's just not like the sensibilities of the director and stuff got it just right.
Yeah.
Where I think they capitalized on his best aspects as Spider-Man and minimized maybe some of his worst ones.
Yeah. Also with his hair the way it is, also I was like, you know, Ben Schwartz could be Spider-Man. He kind of looks like Ben Schwartz from Parks and Rec.
Yeah. Sonic.
Yeah, he's Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
We'll love talking about that when we get a chance. Defoe brings it. Defoe, I've talked about it before, I know, but if we're talking about performances, he could just turn that on like it's nothing.
That's the thing that I kept coming back to is like what makes him as like, even though he is not the comic accurate Green Goblin that I do kind of want to see, he captures what makes the character scary very much, like in a way that the Joker is scary.
Yeah, casting Defoe is great because he doesn't need a mask to look scary. When Defoe leans those eyes down, those big chompers come up. Yeah. He looks like a monster.
Yeah. He is a Goblin Man.
He is a Goblin Man. Like,
that being said, they posted some pictures of Willem Dafoe from like 30 years ago when he had long hair and he looked real handsome. Have you seen pictures of young Willem Dafoe? He looks like a different person.
I recommend watching him in the movie Streets of Fire, which is an awesome movie where it's one of his first major film roles, and he is a motorcycle gang lord, and like his hair is slicked up, almost look like devil horns. Pretty wild.
Cool. Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
I'll talk about it later. That could be a comic book movie.
If this movie hadn't done this, I would have docked it like a full point. When Spooter Parker. When Peter senses his spider sense is about to go wrong, and he walks in the room, and everyone's like, "What's wrong?" And he's just looking around, and he webs his hand, and he has that little speech. Like, as soon as that happened, I was like, he's about to go off or whatever. And when him and Goblin start fighting, I was like, okay, this is the one where you can't have him web his way out. He has to fight him.
Yeah, he has to physically battle this man.
There's a part where Peter Parker's on top of him, punching him in the face, and he just laughs, and it's real good.
Norman Osborn does like the Stone Cold Stunner on him and throws him through. I forgot how strong he is.
Yeah, I wish it was the only tiny critique amongst this thing that I really love is I wish it was just more.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like
technically it's part one of a fight we see later, but that's when it's like no holds barred because it's like that's after the fight at the Statue of Liberty and they're on the big shield.
I think that one.
Are they just gonna? Were they just gonna put that shield on the Statue of Liberty?
I guess.
That Statue of Liberty now has Captain America's shield.
I think that's worse than the one we get at Happy's apartment or whatever.
It's not as good because it's just a beatdown.
Well, I just felt like, remember how dangerous and scary he was, and now he kind of looks shriveled and pathetic,
which is kind of the point.
I know, but there's a way to do it that's not that.
Right. Because this is his moment because it's a great little scene.
Yeah,
when Tobey Maguire holds him up with the glider, the same glider he watched kill Norman Osborn before and be like, he didn't have to say a word. He's just like, don't do it. Yeah. Don't do it. Don't do it. I know what you're thinking. Don't do it. Doesn't have to say a word. He just looks at him. And I do like going back to it with when all of them meet each other, when all the villains meet each other. It's like you're the walking corpse. You died, Norman. What are you talking about? You're crazy. And it's like they all are. Every little bit of them retroactively. Like I heard about both of you. You both died.
Sandman's like you all died. I don't know that I live, but I actually get to live at the end or whatever. But I even love that how Jamie Foxx is like I was kicking his ass. We were fighting, and then I went up into the super, and I was absorbing all this energy, and there was this big light, and he goes, "Holy shit, I was about to fucking die." He realized, oh, I was about to die.
And I think
God damn it.
Lizard's like, "Do I die?"
No, he doesn't die.
They throw Kirk Connors in prison.
That's what I was saying is of the people here, only a handful of them die.
Right.
So if you send it back, the people who die are Green Goblin, probably good riddance. You probably get rid of him.
Doc Ock is gone.
Doc Ock dies, but he kills himself.
Right.
Or whatever. And
Electro gets it.
Electro does technically get killed, but they kind of imply they're going to bring him back for the Sinister Six. So
because he's just energy at that point. Yes. I'm so glad they went because his outfit in this, they get rid of the Ultimate Marvel blue look, which I thought was god awful, honestly.
I thought it was okay.
I like that when he charges up, you see the
little
mask for a second.
Yeah, I like that too.
I like that.
I wish it wasn't so I wish it was. I know, but I wish it was more comic-y. I wish it was a costume, but you'd have to explain how he came from this universe to this one and got a new costume. So I'll take what I can get.
It is very clever how it's when Norman Osborn comes to this realm, he's still Norman Osborn, and he breaks the mask, and he's like, don't bully me, and his homeless garb makes him into the closest to the comic book because it is. Yes, it is.
I know,
but it's not. It's not a mask. It's not. He doesn't look like an elf.
Yeah. Well, in the Green Goblin, is it a mask?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a real green person?
I thought it's a mask he wears. It depends on the continuity.
Yeah,
I
okay.
guess.
It doesn't matter.
But in the original continuity, he's wearing a mask.
Yeah. Let's talk about that fight. Because that fight's good.
Which one?
The one in Aunt May's apartment where he fights, when he throws him through that, like, I don't like that Doc Ock just kind of leaves because he probably should have helped him because he knows that Norman is a crazy lunatic. But, like, when they're fighting, like, I finally got a sense of, like, this is kind of what I want from my heroes sometimes. I want them to be pushed to the brink. Right. I want them to have, whatever hero it is, they all have a villain that's supposed to do this. And when he brings him down and they're at the bottom floor and he grabs him up by his hair and he's like, you did this. And he's like, May, run. And he's like bleeding and stuff. And I was like, it's scary what this guy's capable of.
I thought he was going to take that little blade out and was like, I'm going to slit your throat.
Well,
I was like, he's going to slit his throat.
Well, the only thing I wish they would have done is, like, I wish they would have kept fighting, and I wish he would have, like, slammed his head into the concrete or something. Something just a little more visceral of, like, ooh, you don't see that in every Marvel movie.
It's always, because with Goblin, he's like, it's not that personal. I'm just very much evil.
Yeah, and I love that there is
lethal.
No, he doesn't have he's not like a villain that you're like, I kind of see his point of view.
No,
or
there's no point of view.
He's just straight up, like, he wants to throw a wrench, whatever your plans are, he wants to throw a wrench in them, and he takes pleasure in causing the pain of people who he believes are living lives that are inconsistent or whatever, or are contradictory. He believes Spider-Man's crusade is an affront to, like, what he actually wants, and that you can't have it. So I'm going to make you suffer because of that. He is quite literally Spider-Man's Joker. Right. That's why I love him so much.
And Norman Osborn has always kind of been that. And that's where when you get the moments where Dafoe is like together when he's Norman, you know, like he has that moment where he's like, my son, you know, I woke up and everything was gone. Where's my
house is gone? Yeah,
and it's like, oh, he gets it. He gets something's up, and it's like, oh, but it's like, yeah, I think there's no way that could have worked better other than him to have that spider sense moment, be like, oh, because at first I was like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, it's so tense. You're just like, what's going on?
What's going to happen? Is there someone we missed? Like,
yeah, and even the way they foreshadowed it. Like I said, we've talked about this before, but like when that little shot at the back of his head as if he's not Norman. Like, it's really like another director would have just like had them come like, yeah, I can't wait or whatever. I just had to cut, make him think it's normal. No, like what creates dread is anticipation. Right. And that creates that.
And he's the worst one you can have do this because he is the most collateral damagey. Yeah. He's just tossing those pumpkin bombs everywhere. Yeah. And
when he gets on that glider and he glances over to May and he's like, and Spider-Man knows it's going to happen, he tosses the pumpkin bomb and Peter just swats it away as much as he can. I was like, this guy always knows at any given moment what he can do to hurt you at the worst possible way. Yeah. That's what I love about him. I think he's great.
Not so many of.
It would have been so
Peter
good
Parker,
if he was a green man, Matt. It's already so close to perfect.
Again, I'll say, because it's Dafoe, you got the closest you got to a living imp.
Yeah, I know.
But it's also like as you mentioned about the violence and we talked about this, like having him be so much the same Goblin that was in Raimi's Spider-Man is a different level of chaos and carnage that this Peter Parker has not faced. Yeah, Thanos and other villains are so meticulous. They're so widespread.
And they have
otherworldly.
They have an underlying desire to do some kind of good in a way. They're just like zealots. But this guy is just like a hurricane. Yeah, he just causes destruction.
And I like that's like, okay, I feel like when they mentioned like only May died in that car, I was like, no. He killed like a lot of people. You need to say there was a higher body count because this is what this villain does.
Yeah, when he leaves, he blows up all those police cars. I wish it was worse. I wish that like he like blew up a building or something.
Yeah,
as well.
like seriously, just like, but that also makes it difficult because you have to come to the end of the movie where there is no punishment for him. He gets his ass whooped.
Well, but it's also, I mean, it's not nice to like we're justifying the violence, but like, look, it's not him. Right. It's not Norman Osborn is not doing those things.
Right. It's the Goblin.
He has a split personality.
Right.
And I would argue, even if it is Norman Osborn, like making Peter face the reality of like, this is the absolute worst it could ever be to be Spider-Man is this. And you need to be okay with doing this for the rest of your life, or you don't need to be Spider-Man.
You don't need to be Spider-Man.
Like that's the lesson of the Green Goblin in a lot of ways. Such a good character.
Such a good character. Am I wrong or about like when Otto changes, his sunglasses change color?
I don't know. I didn't necessarily.
All of a sudden, I was just like,
notice that.
I feel like he had red glasses and then he had green ones.
Maybe.
I feel like his eyes were softer and those lenses were like green when he's just Otto. When he's just like not done. Like, the voices are not in my head anymore. I'm so sorry.
I can't remember. Yeah. It could be.
Yeah.
Probably irrelevant, but it doesn't matter.
Well, we should get to probably the end of the movie. Also, so there's a big scaffold fight and all that. Kind of unnecessary that he stabs Tobey Maguire and it has no consequence. It's like I
thought they were gonna kill him for a second. And I was like, that would be a mistake, but like
that'd be a mistake. But also like, oh, there's some more high end consequences in his world.
This is when I think the ending of the movie, the third, not like the last act, is the thing that can be most improved upon, and I think it could have been improved upon by a couple of things.
We should say at least what happens.
Oh yeah, well they fight on the scaffolding. They when all the Spider-Men come together, they have a big laboratory where
each of them know how to solve different things.
Tobey Maguire is gonna fix Norman. Andrew Garfield is gonna tweak a thing to fix Max and
Connor.
And Peter is gonna do nothing.
I think he was working. He got the stuff for Sandman.
Yeah,
it was like because each of them like set it up ahead of time. It's like it is kind of like a boss fight in a video game where it's like you got to go down there and get this item and do that. And I was like, oh, that actually kind of is fun.
So that's what they do, and then they lure them to the Statue of Liberty. Weird. I guess it probably is a good place to have the fight because there's nobody around. Yeah, probably a smart place to lure them to.
And you've got layers.
Yeah, and he lures them there by being like, hey, I got remember that box that Doctor Strange made that if I push the button, you'll all disappear.
He sent his video into InfoWars, and
and so where are you? Which is tacit admission that Jonah Jameson has a huge audience because he definitely thought about what's the one person I can send it to that will get the most view count.
Also, do you notice like obviously it starts where Jonah Jameson just has like his green screen and his house, and then next thing he's in a giant studio. The Spider-Man thing took him from like
I get it.
Like from that to like Fox News.
That's gross. He's so gross.
Yeah, that was one of the most clear political analogies where it's like it's literally just Alex Jones.
Yeah. Hannibal Buress probably watches it. Hannibal Buress is such a
jerk in this movie.
We know what you did.
We know what you did. Hey,
don't listen to him. He's a conspiracy theorist. Oh God! So they have a fight at the scaffolding. Yeah, they have a fight at this big scaffolding. There's a lot of like the Marvel universe is slowly becoming more like ours, but a little less cynical. But like, there's lots of in Hawkeye. There's the Thanos was writing on the bathroom walls and stuff, and there's Mysterio was right. People like. I mean, they think he was a hero, but like, I mean, I don't know. I don't like that. It makes me go like, maybe Thanos was right. Get rid of half of these fuckers.
It's just edgelords.
I know,
it's just eco-fascists who are like, man, things were better when it's like, no, they weren't. You were just like,
your dad just was still with your mom. That's right. It makes you happy or whatever. So they have this big fight, and I think the reason the last fight felt the ability to most be improved upon is because I feel like we put on Spider-Man glasses and we're like, hey, they're all together, look how fun it is. But the fight kind of loses a sense of stakes where we had all these stakes before.
Yeah, I get it. That's not an excuse. I get it. It's like, oh, we have to wrap this up literally in webs.
But I felt there was a better way.
There could have been that's no excuse to not have it be a little more impactful.
Yeah, like Electro was like, I'll kill you if I have to. But then he's like, oh, I guess I won't have to kill you.
He does have that great line where he's talking to him about, and this line could have been a big clunker, but it was kind of funny.
No, I know what you're talking about.
He's like, you were poor, you're from Queens, I just thought you were black.
Helping all these people. I thought you'd be a black kid. He's like, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
He's like,
maybe there's a black Spider-Man.
I wish they would have said that. Like, he's like, maybe there's a black Spider-Man out there. He's like, technically, if the multiverse is real, there are infinite realities, which means there literally are realities where there is a black Spider-Man.
And hey, so you could meet Miles Morales one day.
Yeah. What we know there is in Spider-Man Homecoming, Donald Glover he plays Aaron Davis.
Yeah.
Which is Miles Morales' uncle. So there is a Miles Morales
somewhere in
this universe.
Queens, yeah.
So we'll probably get him at some point. But no, I wish that we wouldn't have just like. We were doing so good. We were like we're running a marathon, and then at the end we know everyone's so far behind us that we just start jogging instead of running anymore.
It's like they're like we have to wrap this up.
Yeah,
and then everybody kind of gets and Dr. Strange comes back.
Oh, I wrote this because it shows how little they cared about the lizard, because I just thought it was funny. Let me look it up in my notes real quick. So when they're in Doctor Strange's prison and stuff, Lizard tells him, when you try to change something, there's always consequences, Peter, or whatever. And then as he is fighting the goblin, Lizard breaks out of his little truck, and then as they're fighting, he grabs Peter and goes, I told you there'd be consequences, and throws him back inside to fight the Green Goblin and leaves.
Yeah, it's just...
I was just like, just admit you didn't know what to do with him.
Right.
Like, that's all you have to do.
I'm looking at John Watts, the director here. He's listed to do the Fantastic Four movie.
Yes, he is.
He's good.
I think one time I thought...
This is his best directing in these, because he directed all the other ones.
Yeah.
He also did Cop Car, that Kevin Bacon movie. I remember Cop Car. Of course, we're getting all that into the big stakes of this movie, which is that it cycles around to, like, Stephen Strange gets free again. He's trying to get the spell to go, and the multiverse is cracking. We see some silhouettes that a lot of nerds on the internet are probably going to look through to be like, is that so and so?
One of them is a literal scorpion creature.
One of them is the Scorpion King. Yeah. I thought one of them had a spear and it looked like Kraven.
Yeah, I thought that too, but I couldn't have been sure about it. Does Kraven usually carry a spear?
Yeah, he carries an assortment of weapons,
yeah.
Weapons.
So, I thought there were going to be like more overt Spider-Man characters.
Yeah,
like Ben Riley or something would show up or something like that, and you're like, oh, I know that Spider-Man or whatever. But then you just have more Spider-Ben, and not just Spider-Bad guys or whatever. But I think this. I'm gonna do my rewrite the screenplay real quick. Because here's what I think could be.
Let's finish it up.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, because this is the big thing setting up everything coming, is that in order to make sure everything, Tom Holland says...
Peter Parker.
Yeah, everyone goes back to their timelines fixed, which we'll talk about what that could mean. And then he's like, go ahead, just do it. Everyone's going to forget I'm Spider-Man.
Well, no, he makes them forget that...
He's Peter Parker.
Who Peter Parker is.
Yeah. And so that, and it is very tearful.
Which opens up a weird idea of like, so they forget who Peter Parker is, but they know they don't know who Spider-Man is.
Right.
But because does that mean that like, if people forget who Peter Parker is, you're not going back in time and preventing Mysterio from revealing his identity. People just forgot who Peter Parker is.
Yeah. So he didn't reveal his identity. It's just they can still call him the Spider-Man.
But Spider-Man exists and is in the world. You just feel that's Spider-Man, but
right.
They don't know who it is now.
So I mean, the other
Parker
Avengers is persona non grata, or not persona non grata. He's just a nobody.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man is still Spider-Man.
Yeah, and he's still an Avenger.
Yeah.
So that means
he just has to reintroduce himself to
Doctor
everybody.
Strange knows, like, I know. Yeah, I fought with Spider-Man, but I don't remember who he is. And I was like, but I fought with him on multiple occasions.
So that's going to be something that comes up. He's probably going to go to Stephen Strange first. Like, do you know this spell? He's like, yeah, I know that spell. You did this to me in order to save the world. I had to do this, so you have to trust me. I am Spider-Man. My name was Peter Parker, and now it's all gone.
Yeah. I was with you when we fought Thanos. You remember how Spider-Man was with you? That was me. I was Spider-Man.
I'm Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So how they're going to do that is going to require a lot of work, a lot of painstaking work, because the movie has this little moment. For one thing, he's now completely free and clear. Aunt May is dead. He has no family.
He literally buys a little apartment and he's like living on his own.
Yeah.
And stuff.
He's just going to be friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
He changes his costume to like the classic Spider-Man costume.
I feel like he does as a reference to his multi-dimensional brothers.
Sure, probably.
It's kind of nice.
It's got the big the back symbol that we all know with the weird janky legs or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see where that Spider-Man goes.
He's literally living like he's literally by himself now, living as a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah, because everything got burned away.
And we should probably talk about him and MJ.
Yeah, we should, because
we haven't really talked about it much.
And all that as well. Because that is
and Flash Thompson
with
his book.
Such an obnoxious. I don't need this character.
I love it though. I love the little references to it when he checks his phone. Peter Parker, Spider-Man. No, like he's just like it can't be. I love Spider-Man, but I hate Peter. Like,
and so he's just trying to. He's dick riding after that. He's like, Peter, my man. Their little teamwork together is so good, and Ned has these little moments where it's like, hey, you keep it up, you might end up being trained by Wong or something.
Yeah.
Like
Wong is in this too.
Yeah.
Strange. Don't cast that spell. it ventures the borders between realities and non-realities. It's too dangerous. He goes, do you remember the moon party of blah 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 blah? And he goes, no. And he goes, exactly, because it works or whatever.
We're going into it with known and unknowns.
Yeah.
And he's like, I gotta go. I'm gonna take my vacation.
Just leave me out of it. I have to go to be in Shang-Chi real quick.
I have to go be in another
I have to go
movie.
fight the abomination. I'll be back. Jesus.
Scooby-Doo this shit.
Yeah, that's good. But
because Holland and Zendaya have really good chemistry, which probably makes sense because they're dating. And
they do something that I wish every other superhero movies would do, where there's a line where it's after he has rescued the lady from the bridge, and he goes, I'm going to need some help, and they bring them to the Doctor Strange's house or whatever. And he goes, you can work in the Undercroft, and they open it up, and it's just a laundry room.
Right, the Undercroft.
And Ned's like, oh my God, or whatever.
There are all these like little monsters running around and like poltergeists and stuff.
Yeah, like in the fridge. Why in the fridge? What if someone eats one of those?
Well, hopefully they won't.
Yeah.
The doll just turns its head for a moment.
Yeah, that was great.
Doctor Strange essentially has like the Warren's house. He keeps all these cursed things in there.
Built on the like magical
Ley lines.
Or whatever. Like it feels like a constantly dangerous or scary place to live in.
It's fun. It's fun.
I'm sure for him it would.
Fun. Yeah.
But like
for some reason Ned just finds a crossbow and is like carrying this crossbow around.
Yeah. But she says to him, like he says, like, I'm sorry that we did blah blah blah. And she goes, hey, it's fine. Like I get why you did it. Like you were trying to right wrongs or whatever. But next time keep us in the loop, please. Because next time you might do something that destroys the universe, we could brainstorm about it and help you. I feel that all the time because there's lots of like so many shows and movies do the thing like I didn't tell you because I was trying to protect you or whatever. A lot that it's almost on my list of cliches at this point. I love like when they just take that off the table immediately, and he does it next time when he tells her like you have to carry the box or whatever. He's like you asked me to just keep you in the loop and we can brainstorm. I'm asking you to do this, please. Like
it does something that I have to give to John Watts and the script writers. They do well is when you have too many characters and you've had these characters for 3 movies, they start running out of things to do with them.
Yeah.
And Ned and MJ have things to do.
Yeah.
They're consequential to the plot.
Magic. Yeah.
Like they have an arc in some of these. Like, this is Ned Begins, for even though now I guess he's not, because if he forgets about Peter Parker, he ain't hanging out with Spider-Man anymore.
Does that mean he forgot about Doctor Strange?
I don't know.
Exactly.
That would actually be kind of fun if it's like he's now at the Sanctum and is like training with Wong or Doctor Strange.
He forgot who Peter Parker is, but he didn't forget about Hank. Did he forget about the adventure he had with Spider-Man?
That's a good question.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a good question because
anyway.
I think that's why this ending works so well, where it's this quiet little ending where he goes to get some coffee and he has this little moment of just like looking at her and everything.
Well, he was going there because it's really heartbreaking when she tells him, I don't want to do that. Think about all the time it took for us to find each other, and like now we're gonna have to do it again. Like you're gonna have to do it all again, and like you have to promise to do it. And he breaks the promise because he doesn't. What happens is it's supposed to be like she brushes her hair and he sees a little Band-Aid on her forehead, and she's like, this is a representation of that she will always be in danger by me, or I might always ruin her.
Yeah.
And he decides to just take the coffee and leave, and it's real. It makes me real sad.
And he has a moment and he just lets it stay.
Yeah.
Then no quick jump cuts. We stay on Holland. We stay on Zendaya, and they just have this moment, and it's just like has any Spider-Man suffered as much as Tom Holland's Spider-Man?
I would argue that Tobey Maguire might have suffered more or whatever. Tobey Maguire, this is why I don't hate Spider-Man 3 is he has to face the man that killed his uncle and gave him so much pain, and like that's why I love like the Raimi Spider-Man movies are about something on the whole, and they're about how like doing the right thing. Doing the right thing and the hard thing are almost always the same thing. Whereas the Holland Spider movies are not about something collectively. Each one of them are about a thing. This one is definitely
because it's connected to a larger universe.
Yeah, this one is about something though. It's about him becoming a man and having to take responsibility.
This is a very rough story about a boy who has to become a man.
And when McGuire, like when he says like I forgive you, he just lets go of that responsibility of like, did I get Uncle Ben killed? Did I cause all these problems? Do I only bring problems to the people who know that I'm Spider-Man? Like it's a hugely good arc in a mediocre-ish movie or whatever.
And
Andrew
you kind of
Garfield
get a touch of that when the three of them are talking about like the struggles they've had as Spider-Man.
Yeah. And I think that like
Though I wish you'd be kind of like, I
Also,
wish you
he-
would kind of make a point of being like, Sandman over there. Yeah, he's the one that did it.
yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, he's like, yeah.
Well, but does he? Because he does mention that he killed the guy he thought did it, but he never says Sandman was actually the guy that did it. But he did it because the guy who I thought did it ran up to him and startled him, and he pulled the trigger on accident. Like, we don't need to get into the weeds that much, but
Right.
like
I always found that retconning very strange.
I do too, but I still kind of like it.
Okay.
I kind of accept it now because we get
It's one of those like, there is no Joe Chill. It was Jack Napier who killed Batman's parents and turns out to be the Joker. That works so well in Batman the animated. That works so well in Batman '89. And that's it.
yeah, sure.
I mean, fine. I don't like it in Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, but that movie's so good that it still works.
Oh, is that what it's set up to be?
No.
Does it?
No,
No,
he's just he's just one of the gangsters.
Yeah, it reveals his identity, kind of, or whatever.
Whereas he was Jack.
That is such a good movie.
Yeah, Mask of the Phantasm.
yeah.
It kicks ass.
Yeah, I'd love maybe not an adaptation, but I would love to see like the Phantasm. The Phantasm is a kind of scary, cool character that I'd like to see more of. They do reference it in that Justice League Unlimited episode. Do you remember this? Oh God, I'm gonna blow your mind. There's an episode of Justice League Unlimited that is set in the future of the Batman Beyond verse, where Terry McGinnis comes back.
Yep.
And he's older. He's like a man now or whatever. And Bruce Wayne is even older, and he's getting up to the point where he's probably gonna die soon.
Right.
And Terry has to ask himself, like, do I want to keep being Batman forever? Because it's kind of ruining my life or whatever.
He doesn't want to be Batman forever.
Yeah, like
he doesn't want to be Val Kilmer.
and he goes, and I've been doing this for so long, and you still keep so much shit from me. I'm kind of sick of it. And he goes, like, when are you going to trust me to do what, like, I need to? I'm Batman. You're not. You're just a guy in the chair now. Like, I have to do all the things. I have to live with the consequences, and you need to trust me. There is a retcon that this episode does that I don't love, but anyway, so it sets up that Amanda Waller comes to visit, played by CCH Pounder, comes to visit Terry McGinnis or whatever, and she says, like, I want to tell you a story about how you became Batman. And it implies, because you've seen Batman Beyond, right? You know that show pretty well.
I haven't seen the whole series.
You just need to know, like, how it starts.
Right, I love it.
His parent,
I love
his parent,
Rogues Gallery.
his dad is killed.
Dad gets killed by a group of a bunch of clowns.
Yeah, in this episode, Amanda Waller tells him Bruce Wayne knew there needed to be another Batman, so he used his computer and his knowledge to find like a young kid living in the Gotham ghetto who he thought would have the best opportunity of being a Batman because he knew he couldn't do this forever, and he created an he tried to find a person, and in order to capitalize on it, he was going to inject you with some of this nano serum something. I can't remember exactly what it was. It's not really important what it was.
Right.
Either
way, he's like,
and he found you.
He's like, I built a troubled child AI.
Yeah, and he's like, he found you, and he was about to do it, and he looked at you with your father and your mother, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't take that away from you.
And then his father got killed anyway.
Well, yes, and then she goes, and then I decided I had to step in, and he goes, because Gotham needs a Batman. It's one of my favorite lines from all comic books. There's the fight for the cowl where Nightwing becomes Batman. Like, Gotham must always have
I was
a
about to
Batman.
say, some of those Robins be like, I mean, you kind of fucked us over here, boss. Like,
Yeah. Also, I love
Batman.
the world building in that show of like, where is Dick Grayson at now?
Yeah.
He's still around.
Well, as we find out exactly where
Barbara Gordon becomes commissioner.
right, Barbara Gordon's commissioner, and she's not in this world Oracle. She's not paralyzed.
Yeah, Tim Drake becomes the Joker.
That's who I was thinking of. Yeah. Tim Drake's trying to live his own life as a middle-aged man, and yet when he was tortured in Batman Return of the Joker, or was it Return of the Joker? I think Batman Beyond Return of the
Batman
Joker.
Beyond.
That movie is intense.
It is.
Also, that
good.
the whole sequence, the uncut sequence when Joker dies, woof.
Yeah,
rough.
good stuff. Anyway,
Also, you get old Harley Quinn.
so here's how it ties into Mask of the Phantasm.
Yes, I'm very curious. 'Cause we've gone
Amanda
off
Waller
Spider-Man.
says, like, I was going to kill your parents. And it shows her arguing with someone, and it's the Phantasm. And the Phantasm takes off her mask, and it's whoever her name was. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Valerie probably or something. And she's like, I'm not doing it. And she leaves. And he goes, and somehow Gotham City found a way. And it shows Terry's parents dying. And he goes, Gotham must always have a Batman. And he faces his idea of like, I was always going to be Batman. It was never going to let me go. Mm-hmm. And he proposes to his girlfriend, and he goes back to Bruce Wayne, and he goes, I know you think that, I know, I can't remember exactly what it says, but it's so good. And he goes, he comes back, and Bruce Wayne's having trouble opening his pills, and he opens them for him and pours them. He's like, I know you're worried that you're going to lose me. He's like, but you're not. He's like, I'm going to be here. He goes, I always will be. Gotham will always have a Batman. It's a great fucking episode.
Yeah,
I love that
great.
fucking show.
And it's just like Amanda Waller went to the Phantasm and just was like, you do it. And it's like, I don't really do that.
I could have misquoted some of what happened in that story. It's been a long time, but it's a great episode with a bunch of great world building that goes back 20 fucking years or something.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, who about Spider-Man?
Well, I mean, we're done with the movie pretty much. Like it's
I just think that him and MJ, like the loss of that feels real, like bad.
Again, like
it feels as
like,
bad.
Has anybody suffered as much as because
I mean, I don't know. It's probably debated.
he's lost 2 father figures.
Yeah, it's good. I forgot about Tony Stark.
Tony Stark,
you're probably right.
He died in Tony Stark's arms at one time.
And then Tony Stark dies kind of at his.
Aunt May dies. Everyone's gonna forget him. He's gonna lose his girlfriend,
and that's kind of like, I guess, over the course of
and
these
he's gonna
movies,
be poor again.
Yeah, I guess over the course of these movies, that is kind of his arc. Is like being Spider-Man is really just like it's growing up. Mm-hmm. It's like
it always happens to some kid in.
Yeah, and the act, I don't think they meant to do it on purpose, but the act of growing up is losing people that you love and having to keep going. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, like, so I don't think they intended this arc from the moment he shows up in Civil War to now. But
yeah,
like,
I don't think.
But I believe that it is the unintentional arc.
I don't think when it happened, they're like, Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin is going to kill Aunt May.
Yeah,
and I'm like, no. That was just a very crazy thing that happened due to the mass Disney collection of everything in sight, and we get this movie out of it.
Yeah. The only things I would change about this
I want to hear
movie
your script rewritings.
Is I definitely would have like a little scene with Daredevil where maybe he captures the Lizard.
Lizard probably be the easiest.
Do like a, I don't know, 5-minute fight sequence at the end, have Doctor Strange come and like, I need that, just teleport away. And he's like, what was that? Was that Doctor Strange? Or whatever. Find a way to do more with the Lizard. I think the best...
He pops up in the sewer and Matt Murdock has him beat, and he's just like, and Stephen Strange's like, hey, it's you. Anyway, keep doing what you're doing.
I think that the people who have the most in common of his villains would actually be the Lizard and Green Goblin, because they're kind of the same. They're scientists who became obsessed and they drove themselves insane.
Right, they both turned themselves into green-coated monsters.
Yes, literally. So what I think they should do is they should like there should have been like a scene or something where like as they're talking or whatever, maybe he brings the Lizard with him to the thing, the Happy's apartment. And while he's working, he talks like maybe like you could film it in the same unnervy way as the back of Willem Dafoe's head. Mm-hmm. Have him sit down and he goes, I want to talk to you about something, and just have him smile for a second, and then just cut it off or whatever, and then just have everything go.
That way,
keep going by
that
normal.
Weird line that Lizard has where he's like, "It begins." It's like,
yeah, what does that even mean?
Unless he had set something up ahead of time with Norman,
which he didn't.
He didn't.
we don't,
or at least
that
we don't see.
that we don't see. Yeah. And then what happens is as the rest of the movie can keep going, and as they break out, you have kind of like teams now. You have Sandman and Doc Ock on Team Spider, and you have everybody else on Team Goblin.
Yeah.
So the end of the movie, we can have like a bigger fight that isn't just like at the end of the movie when Sandman shows up, he's like, I don't care, I just want to go home.
Right.
We're trying to send you home, dipshit. If you just give us a second, like it kind of ruins his art.
Come on, Flint, don't be stupid.
Yeah. And anyway,
because he should be helping, like him, like that'd be something where it's like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is like surfing on his sand or something, like I'll get you
or
over
just,
there.
yeah, like anything would be cool. And like at the beginning of the movie when he saves Tom Holland, like he's getting zapped on the back, he just makes an impenetrable wall of sand. Like, there's a lot of stuff that guy can do.
Yeah.
I think he's like
He's almost, if he's on the good side, he's almost too OP because he could just like I'm just gonna cover this whole thing up.
no, because you could have a thing where like Electro turns him into glass or something.
Hey,
yeah, like
cool.
any number of stuff you could write your way out of it or whatever. But like, my point is like that guy's a weird unsung hero of those movies because I kind of think he is like. When you compare him to Doc Ock and Green Goblin, he's not as good, but like he is still like a great villain kind of those movies, and he just got lost.
A great power.
He also has a great. There's that scene in Spider-Man 3 where he forms his body for the first time, and he sees that I think it's like that ring of his daughter, and he tries to grab it, and it slips through his hands, and he keeps trying, and he gets mad, and he forms his body. It's a great scene. It's got great music to it, and it's just like a really unsung scene. So I would have loved to see him kind of be a little more heroic and earn the character arc that he kind of has in Spider-Man 3.
Because if this is all about these little redemptions, then he's
Why not?
already a decent guy. Like, yeah, I think they just didn't know what to do with him by the end of the movie.
And then you can have like what's a good thing we could have like the other team do is like they just want to. I mean, do they just want to stay here? Is their thing? You can make.
I think that it's this thing where if they had a moment of like presenting Norman as this leader among them to be like,
I had a great idea.
Among these people, they're not expecting.
I had a
us.
great idea. He's like, they've brought some of theirs. Maybe we should bring some of ours. And it's like we're gonna steal that box, which he kind of does.
Right.
Like when Doctor Strange comes back, I love that Green Goblin is so maniacal. Like he's like Heath Ledger's Joker. I took your little plan and I turned it on itself or whatever. He takes and he slips a bomb inside the box.
I was like, that made me gasp because I was like, oh my god, no.
Yeah, and so you can make that their plan is like our plan is to get the box and to break it and bring more of us here.
I've denoted what's going on here.
So you do that. Kind of like the way it happens, but you have them actively steal it, and then maybe you have like your big battle could be them and maybe a few different characters, or not. You could just like let them be like lights in the sky or whatever.
Yeah.
And them fighting like Doctor Strange, the Spider-Man, Doc Ock, and like them, and have like a big all-out brawl at the end, and then you have it ending with, because I feel like it really becomes an excuse to keep Doctor Strange out of the final battle. He also stays out of the battle for a long time till Ned opens a thing. I think it would have been. This is why I think it would be a better idea to not have him just webbed up over the Grand Canyon forever. Find a different way to remove him from the movie for a while, so we can bring him back whenever we want. Not just by opening a portal or whatever. Yeah.
So he does have that really good line. And I feel like that could have played back as a lot of birthday parties.
Yeah.
There's some magician at a birthday party. A lot of birthday parties.
Yeah. And that way, instead of him for the rest of that fight, he's just sealing up these little tears in reality, but he doesn't do anything.
He doesn't do anything. He's an NPC in the boss fight.
We could have had a lot of really cool magic stuff if we brought forward some more of these bad guys. You're like, oh, that's a crazy version of the Rhino. Or, oh, this is supposed to be a Hydro Man. You could do that and then have Doctor Strange like, the only way we can do this is to undo the spell, Peter. So we have to make them forget who you are or whatever.
I agree with you, and I think that would work, but it has to be...
You have to have the goodbye.
Well, you have to have the goodbye, but it also has to be his decision.
Oh, yeah, Peter. Have Peter come to the decision.
He has to be the one... Because... Strange doesn't bring it up again. It's Peter that says...
He actually says no. He goes, if you do that, everyone... He knows...
He now knows
that it's not a good thing. We shouldn't want to do that to you, necessarily. Right. I wish that we got a better goodbye from him because he knows that he's... Like, he just says, like, so long, kid. Or, like, he says, like, I'll be seeing you around, Strange, or whatever. And he's just be like, no, you won't. Because I won't remember you. Like, I wish we would have had a better...
I feel like, but he's going to be like, that's going to be one of the things is I'm still Spider-Man. I'm going to have to go to the Avengers anyway.
Yeah, I
And
wish
just be
they
like,
would have
"Hey."
put a better button on it. Is what I would have liked. But
It gives the writers a chance to have some time to be like, all right, how do we do this now?
Yeah.
Because we're already like, what are all these little holes in this and everything? So it's good that they just kind of put a pin on it and are just like, in the next Spider-Man movie or in the next Marvel movie involving Spider-Man, we'll have time to write this.
Yeah,
and
that's a
figure
good
out
point.
what we want to do with it.
yeah, but so that's really all I would do.
I'm betting Spider-Man ain't going to be involved in Multiverse of Madness.
Well,
at
some
all.
people have implied that Tom Holland is done being Spider-Man. I'd be shocked if we never see him again. I mean,
He's not. I don't think he's done.
really, the next Avengers arc, he's not going to show up and like be on the team. Like, come on,
they're
going to do something. But that's really all I would change. Is I just feel like the last act of the movie loses its steam, and I think it's because like it's a lot of us telling jokes to each other, and like Electro's like, I'm a murderer, but I'm not a murderer. Come on, I don't even care.
Yeah, they get defeated pretty easily.
And it would have given us a better chance to have bigger, or like more high stakes action, I think, and have the Green Goblin do some more mayhem. Like he's like, oh, like you thought you were just gonna beat me. I'm gonna make. Not only is this bad, I'm just gonna make it worse and bring more of me. Like that's how looted. Like you thought, like of all the people you could have brought to this universe, you fucked up bringing me here.
Right.
Yeah. Like
I'm the worst. I'm the worst option.
yeah. So like I think that'd
be actually a good one to go get Deed DeHaan. Be like, I got another goblin here. You're my son from a son from another mother.
yeah. But that's really all I would do to change it. I just think the last act needs a little bit of fine tuning.
Yeah.
It's still a great movie.
I think what I'd be very interested to see, and I think we all are, is what are now the continuities of those worlds now. They kind of undo those movies because everyone survives.
Yeah, like that's a good question. Is I always wanted a better answer to like we get answers to some of them, but where exactly do they take them from?
Yeah.
And like if they take the lizard from, he's still the lizard, which means Andrew Garfield didn't change him at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 1. Because that's what happens at the end. He turns back into Kirk Connors,
but he doesn't
shadowy.
go back to Kirk Connors.
Yeah, in a shadowy figure. Yes, but in this movie.
Yeah.
But he didn't in his movie. Does that mean the timeline, when you took him out, did you change everything that happened after that?
Does that mean Gwen Stacy's not dead?
Well, no, she's definitely still dead.
Right.
But like,
That's in the
are
second
we
movie,
taking them all from their own unique, near identical multiverses?
Right.
Or something?
Well, and it's like if they
Because
go back,
Doc Ock doesn't die, but like now he's good and he'll never try to sink the city. But was that exactly what he was doing when you took him? And if you're putting him back, is he right back where he started, where he's going to kill himself?
We know that when he was taking, because we know Doc Ock was taken from when he was chasing Peter, Tobey Maguire's Peter.
He says,
Like,
I had my hands around his throat. I'm trying to think exactly what moment is that. There's at the very end when...
Because a lot of these seem like they were right before their demises.
That's what I think they're trying to say, because like Electro's like, oh shit, I was about to die. Like
Right.
his is right before he's about to die.
At the end of the movie.
Like we don't know where Sandman comes from necessarily. He's still Sandman. But
Sandman,
he never becomes not Sandman in his movie.
Meanwhile, the Spider-Men are coming in willingly from the futures of their timelines after their respected movies.
And I guess you could say, well, it's a muddy multiverse. Don't worry about it too much.
And it's also one multiverse out of all the other ones. Like those movies still happened.
My point is it's hard to answer your question of like, well, what does their society look like now? Right. Because we kind of don't know where they're taken from and where they're being placed back. I'm just
Tobey
curious.
Maguire's world, is it now like, okay, because like have the events of the films happened,
what you could do?
But now both Dr. Octavius and Dr.
Connors.
Dr. and Osborn are both alive.
Yeah.
But Harry's dead still.
Yeah.
Like it's like
what you could do is you could have them go back. This is how you get your Kristen Dunst cameo. You have them go back.
I would have been fine if she showed up and it'd be good.
Peter wakes up and has coffee. He's like, I gotta go to work, and he gives her a kiss and goes to work. And he comes in and he goes, "Hello, my dear boy." And he's working with Octavius at like a lab.
Right.
That'd be great. And Connors or Osborn's in jail because he murdered all those people.
Right. he's still in prison. We cut to Andrew Garfield and like.
Maybe he sees Max getting a hot dog and he's like, "What's up?"
Yeah,
because like I saved you. Connors is probably still in
prison.
jail. Both the Green Men
gets a
go
little
to
bit
jail.
more pep in his step. He gets a little more function in his life, and like he's like stopped being so cynical and sad because he lost everything.
I like the "Hello, my brilliant boy" or whatever would be. I think that would be good for him and Doc Ock to bury the hatchet and work together. Because I even love that when he finally, that was really another great moment when he meets Tobey Maguire and he goes like, "How are you, my dear boy?" And he goes, "Still trying to do better," which is what he says to him in Spider-Man 2. And he tells him, I wish they would have had another, just a little bit longer. I know it's a long movie and I want a little better button on 90 things. Because when he meets him, he goes, "Oh, you're Connor's student." First of all, Connor's would become the Lizard. Right. There's the Lizard in that universe, probably. He tells him, like, "You're Connor's student." He tells me you're brilliant. He also tells me you're lazy. He goes, "Because being smart's not enough, young man. Your intelligence isn't a gift. It's a privilege, and you use it for the good of mankind." And he goes, "I'll try to do better." It's so good.
It's a little line there.
Yeah.
And also, I mentioned it earlier, but I think I even said in the theater, just like, say the line is I'm something of a scientist myself.
Yeah.
And I was like,
That's pretty good. So that's a way you could have had a little stinger at the end.
I know what they could do. I know a really smart way of doing it.
We get Venom. You didn't like Venom at the end?
We didn't talk about Venom at all. No, I know what we can do with these little changes in the arcs. Just someone write a comic book. Just do like a little tie-in comic book or something, or like if they do a what if like part 2, just a little episode.
Yeah, do that.
Do a little episode where it's like, hey, what happened?
Because
to the
so many
Spider-Man in their own worlds?
so many people. By the way, Chadwick Boseman in the what if stuff really I got all teary eyed because I thought he
did he get to record them before?
Yes, he recorded. I thought he was going to be in like one episode for 10 minutes, and then he's throughout the whole series.
That's awesome.
As T'Challa, Star-Lord. What if Star-Lord was Black Panther or whatever? It's really good.
I also
because there's also a what if.
The thing I know is if Killmonger worked for Stark Industries and he's
there's a what if Killmonger.
He's like a Gundam fan. He's like building mechs.
Kinda. Him and they meet each other at some point, and I was like, this is kind of cool. We got kind of we'll never see those two characters again.
Yeah.
Now. Well, because Killmonger's dead, but like it's kind of cool. They got a mock little second meeting. Anyway, it's really good.
I like that. But
I would love if like Andrew, like, because a lot of the people from the movies, Benedict Cumberbatch voices Doctor Strange in those what ifs. So Andrew Garfield doing a what if would be great, and even like a what if, like this is what his story was after. What if this is what happened after Spider-Man No Way Home or whatever? Call it whatever you want. I think
that would be a good way of doing that and closing that arc up. Of course, the last thing to mention is Eddie Brock. It just spends the whole time in he gets spirited away from his world at the end of Let There Be Carnage.
Yeah.
And
he spends like basically 2 hours at a bar the whole time.
He's 2 hours at a tequila bar getting drunk and dealing with Venom talking to him, telling him
thought Righteous Protector, what is it? Venom something Protector was a shit name.
It was a shit name.
Because it is. Talking to himself like a lunatic. I will say this. I don't care which Spider-Man it is. I mean, it probably shouldn't be the Tobey Maguire one because I don't think it works. I want to see that Venom meet one of those Spider-Men, particularly like Garfield or Tom Holland.
Right.
Because at the end of the post-credit scene, they suck him back to his own universe, which feels like a mistake to me.
Right.
But
it's almost a joke. Like where they were like, oh my God, Venom is no, he's not. He's out. But he leaves behind symbiote.
That's true. But at the end
that's like a big thing.
At the end of No Way. At the end of Let There Be Carnage, they bring him to it's the same bar. They bring him to that bar and like, oh, we're in the MCU now because he sees J. Jonah Jameson or whatever on the TV. And I was like, oh, it feels like a weird joke just to have him come and then take him away. Because, like,
it's a weird thing.
Sony spent such Sony built this Spider-Man universe, and then they made these Venom movies, and now you're not going to do anything with them? We don't want to see another Venom. We want to see that Venom.
We want to see the Venom you've built up that, like,
have Venom meet Spider-Man.
Tom Hardy's doing a great job in.
Yeah. The second movie is better than that first one somehow. I don't know how it happened, but it is.
I've not seen it.
It's all right. Andy Serkis does a good job, but like I want to see a scene where like, oh, this is Spider-Man. I like that symbol, and he makes the white spider,
white spider in his Venom.
But we're not a spider people. It doesn't matter. I'm using webs now. Like you can explain away so much stuff.
Well, do you think it's very possible that when that symbiote gets out, that will be the next Spider-Man arc? Is like he becomes Venom Spider-Man, and Andy Serkis is still voicing him, but for Tom Holland.
Well, Andy Serkis isn't voicing him. I mean, Tom Hardy is voicing Venom.
Does he voice Venom as well?
Yes.
Maybe that's how they could do it.
Yeah.
And then Doctor Strange is like, I hate I have to do this again, but I got to bring back somebody who's an expert. And he brings back Eddie Brock and is like, figure this out. What is that thing?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That thing doesn't exist in our universe.
You can write your way back into it. I just think it's weird that you wrote your way out of it in the first place. But anyway,
he gets just disappeared. But it leaves symbiote. That's going to play a big role.
Yeah.
All right. I liked this movie.
Me too.
It's the best of the
It's not the best comic book movie of all time, but y'all just need to calm down.
It is a very good chapter 1 or like kind of like chapter 2 or whatever for the second phase of this next Marvel arc.
Yeah, I think it's both. It feels like an opening and a closing at the same time. Mm-hmm. It does feel like an ending in brackets for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Like that being said, I don't think we
didn't return. It would suck bad.
Yeah,
but at the same time, be like, I get it.
Yeah, he'll be off doing 3 Uncharted movies or whatever. But like it felt. But at the end, he has a new suit. Like those are things that you do to open another door at the end.
And
so I'm like,
him being just Spider-Man, I can imagine that that he'll just be like, no, Peter Parker doesn't matter. No one's gonna know who I am. And he's gonna start thinking of the benefits of that. What are the benefits of having no connections? And it may turn him into God knows what. You know, who knows what kind of Spider-Man that may become. And then when you throw symbiote in it, you have a dangerous combination. We could get a villain out of Tom Holland.
No. Tom Holland doesn't have that.
It could be a good character turn, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spider-Man, No Way Home.
No Way Home. No way you're not going to see it in the theaters or whatever. It was good. Do you want to talk recommendations or do you want to...
What I'm thinking
I did Lost City of Z.
I'll see.
Go see it. It's a good movie.
You know what? I brought it up earlier. Streets of Fire is a 1980s movie by what's his name? Hill. Walter Hill, who did The Warriors. And this is kind of like his follow-up to The Warriors.
Oh, that 70s movie? I thought The Warriors was done by like Sam Peckinpah.
No.
Is that?
No, The Warriors is the one about they're in New York City and they're the gang. They have to make it. That's Walter Hill. You're thinking maybe of The Wild Bunch?
The Wild Bunch. Yeah, I love that movie.
Bloody Western. So this is set in a city that exists somewhere between the 1980s and the 1950s. It is definitely the 80s, but all the aesthetic is like greaser culture.
Vague Americana
with greaser
80s
culture.
aesthetic. Yeah.
And Diane Ladd,
Willem Dafoe?
No, Martha.
Diane Lane?
Diane Lane.
Oh, she's in this?
Diane Lane is in it.
She's like
she's the
girl.
Lead. What?
She'd have been like a baby.
She's gorgeous.
Okay.
She is a popular musician artist. It's kind of a musical, but it's not a musical. It's more like a rock opera. And
does Willem Dafoe sing in this?
No, he does not sing in this. Diane Lane sings in it. She's got a band. She's incredibly popular. Her name is Ellen Aim, and she's great. And then Willem Dafoe's biker gang shows up and kidnaps her and takes her. And this guy from out of town, this duster-wearing vigilante, just comes in out of the war. He's got a shotgun and everything. Rick Moranis is her manager / kind of like bad boyfriend. And so Rick Moranis is like, you got to go and save her. You got to go save her. And we got to do this. And so the three of them and this other girl who's an actress, who's a famous actress, but I don't recall. I don't have the information in front of me. They form up a team and like go up against the corruption of the city.
So when was this movie made again?
85, 84, 85 or so.
I didn't know if it was like a movie from the 90s set in the 80s. Okay, that's fine.
But it's got a lot of different music in it. It's very much like this weird cultural infusion. It's almost like a steampunk movie. It's not, but in that like it's 50s aesthetic in the 80s.
Okay, I get it.
The music is really dope. This fashion is awesome. We should probably watch the trailer to get an idea of it. Willem Dafoe looks nuts. There is a giant fight with sledgehammers. That's great.
Nice.
Walter Hill came out in 84. And Raven Shattuck was Willem Dafoe, along with his gang of merciless biker fiends, kidnaps rock star Ellen Aim, Diane Lane, Ellen's former lover, soldier for hire Tom Cody, played by Michael Perrier, who didn't go anywhere after that. He was kind of like just a monotone, handsome guy.
Nice.
He happens to be passing in the town, so he's hired in to go get him. And it's this very rock opera, neo-noir rock musical. The film is credited as a rock and roll fable.
Nice.
It's not perfect. I wish it was a little rougher around the edges like The Warriors is. But it's this wonderful, wild, weird fantasy movie with lots of explosions. And and one thing was it was huge in Japan. It did not do well here. It was huge in
Are there
Japan.
giant robots in this movie?
No, there are no giant
Does
robots.
Godzilla make an appearance?
No. But the aesthetic of it
Are there
was
anime waifus?
Well, I mean, Diane Lane's.
I mean, I guess they really weren't. Yeah.
But this movie was a huge influence on a lot of anime directors. And during the OVA culture of the 80s, like original video animations, a lot of those films are like these kind of like throwback crime dramas. And a lot of them are inspired by Streets of Fire. And so Streets of Fire was this big cultural phenomenon in Japan during the bubble economy. It just didn't do anything in America.
Oh, cool.
I do recommend it. I think it's on Netflix. It's a lot of fun. It's very 80s. It's very sleazy and all that. And Rick Moranis has a very strange turn as like this jerk, like this real like mean jerk, tight fist, like tight tie, like just like, hey, you don't boss me around, buddy. And it's like, huh. That's Rick Moranis. You
never
could
saw that before,
You could just
or
push him and he'd
since.
fall over.
Yeah.
It's a wild movie. I love it. Streets of Fire.
Sounds like fun, Matt.
Great music in it.
I've
too.
never heard of such a movie as this. I'll have to check it out.
It is. I've only heard it through the Anime Vine, and they're like, it's like it is peak '80s aesthetic, and it's a delight.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps us up. You can follow us on Facebook, and you can subscribe to us on YouTube and watch all of our content there, as well as on the Podbean and the free Podbean app and Apple Podcasts, or is it
Maybe
iTunes Podcast? One or both of those. There's plenty of other places. This has been The Movie Date with Rob and Matt, a podcast for people who like movies but don't want to be too smug about it. I'm Rob.
And I'm Matt.
And we will see you guys next time.
Happy New Year.